like to figure out how to make it work?
You know, nothing really, you know, kind of comes to mind. I would, you know, I just think everything's just kind of in such a limbo right now because of the virus and all this other stuff.
Yes.
All these other things.
Well, and it's interesting. Yeah.
Maybe some of the you know, some of the best ways to just improve my writing while we have downtime.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think what we can all do at this point, because we're all kind of sequestered, is create our own content. And so whether that's writing or posting videos or, you know, painting or doing animation, whatever's our favorite thing, we can do those things. And in a way, there's something very nice about the world slowing down a little, because, you know, Hollywood is such a breakneck pace, and one always feels one is running as fast as one can to catch up, that it's great to be able to take a little time to look inward, you know, and to see how to, you know, improve one's work if possible.
Can you find another word than great in this situation?
Yes. It's well, I suggest that everyone read a Journal of the Plague Year by Daniel Defoe. I think that'll put you in the right mood.
Well, we're finding it a little bit, being forced to slow down a little is helpful. And in terms of like looking inward, we have a chance to look at characters and start to do more and more backstory.
Mm-hmm.
And although, you know, you don't want to like drown in backstory, it's very, very helpful for specificity of character, where if somebody is let's say a newspaper person, why are they a newspaper person? What is it they want to accomplish? Because a script doctor of mine, unfortunately she's passed away, but she was superb. She was wonderful. And we were in a wonderful deli, which had old people. But you said that
she didn't pass away from the coronavirus.
No, she didn't. You know, she passed away a while back.
And also we're also, by the way, we have Mr. Sci-Fi up and running. So if there are questions coming in, we can also alternate with that stuff. So
Jean Turnbow and Ronald Johnson say hello.
Hi guys. Hi.
Hey guys.
This is great. So go ahead, Elaine.
So with the anecdote,
Linda Anderson too.
We were in this deli, and she said there were these old people and these people from the industry, et cetera, et cetera. And she said, what is it that everybody in this deli wants in common? And that kind of stumped me, because I thought, what could everybody want in common? Not everybody's after money. And some people don't even believe in love. I mean, that they either reject it or they don't. I'm saying, well, what is it that everybody has in common? And she said, everybody here wants to matter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then
I thought you were going to say everybody wants brisket.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, that too.
Yeah. Well,
but everybody wants to matter. And then, you know, you start to really think about even your smallest character. What is it they want that will make them feel as though they matter, or their life matters? And that's very, very helpful in creating the drive of characters, which engages our audience, you know, which hooks them.
Yeah.
So taking moments like that and say, well, what at a core do they want? How do they see themselves? However they come across, what are they? How are they trying to come across versus how they actually come across? It just makes for a.
See themselves.
Yes.
However they come across, what are they? How are they trying to come across?
Let's see. That's you might want to. Yes. You might want to mute that. Whoever, we're getting an echo back. Thanks. Becca, I think that may be you, Becca.
So we're getting
you have to mute yourself, otherwise it's going to feed back.
Okay. So, but now are there questions from the Mr. Sci-Fi stuff yet? Anyone asking questions? Yikes.
No questions per se.
Just people saying hi.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So we're going to be here basically to answer questions. So we'll start. Yeah, of course, Paul. So why don't we, Jacob? I don't know if you want to check in and say who you are and what you need or what you're pursuing. Let's see. Now, I guess.
Yeah. You said Jacob?
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah.
We'll just go one person at a time. Well, good. Where are you, by the way?
I was going to be in LA April 2nd for a few months.
Cool.
But with everything going on, I had to cancel my trip, so I'm still in Honolulu.
Yeah, well, that's not a bad alternative, you know. So,
but I will be back as soon as this sucker is over.
Great.
Good.
Already.
Great.
And I've been watching your links on Space Command, and I must tell you that I'm extremely impressed with the quality.
Thank you.
Of your work. I mean, it is really, really good. It's I'm just amazed at the color and the images and the acting.
Yes, thank you.
And I just finished a short, and I don't know if you saw my pictures on Facebook, but I would love to, if you need me, I would love to be on set to help out.
Oh, sure, that'd be great.
When I'm in town. I'm in town about half the year.
Yeah, well, great. That'd be
Lovely.
great. Send us an email and I can forward that to our producer, David Bartlett, because he's keeping a list. And our plan right now is we're not going to be shooting probably until, July or whatever, whenever this situation is over.
I plan to be back as soon as this thing is
Yes.
over, or almost over.
Yes. And oh, go ahead, please.
Yeah, right now we're being told, right now it's gotten so serious here that the Hawaii state governor is telling tourists not to come.
Yeah,
Wow.
I understand. I understand.
And the economic engine of the whole state is tourism. So that's how bad it's
Wow.
Wow.
Well, no, hopefully this will all be over in the near future. But one of the ideas I had today was to do a new Space Command episode where we'll utilize VFX shots that we already have that we haven't used and have actors speaking, on their phones or their cameras or whatever from their places and work up a narrative that will work within those parameters. So I'm just starting to play with it. We'll see if I can make that work. I think I can, and it's a very fun challenge. And we would send that episode out for free to everyone, just kind of because everyone is in the same situation now around the world, in fact. So I think that would be a really nice thing that we could do as a little thank you to everyone.
But we feel
also,
lucky.
Mark, I'm a writer. I'm a optioned and paid screenwriter.
Great.
I've been writing for about 40 years.
Great.
So if I can help with, adding some suggestions to the scripts or help you with any of that, I'd
thanks. Thanks. Well, I might need some new adverbs and adjectives,
No,
so
but that's great. Well, what kind of work do you love to do? What's your focus in terms of the kind of things you write?
It's just basically creating something out of nothing.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
If I can do that, then I feel like I'm accomplishing something, which is really what an artist does.
Yes.
And also, if that happens, and if it elevates people or changes moods or adds something to their life or enhances or gives them something to take away, then I feel my job is done.
Okay,
That's
great.
great.
Well, that's great,
Wonderful.
Jacob. Well, thanks. So,
Dave,
yes.
Dave A says, if COVID-19 doesn't shut down Bubonicon in Albuquerque.
That's an interesting name, but okay.
I was hoping you might be able to show up with the other sci-fi authors.
Yeah, sure. If I'd love to come if we're able to do so and not in an encampment in an island far from humanity. But yeah, absolutely.
And hi everyone, I'm Adam.
That's Adam Sartain.
Who is our tech
who's
person,
doing the technical stuff right now,
helping out.
Which is why you can see us and we can see
exactly.
you.
Yeah,
I got everything set up.
So,
we've got an array of computers and phones set up.
So we're doing Mr. Sci-Fi and also this. So Rufino, why don't we have you introduce yourself and see if there's anything you need?
Hi guys, can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
The internet in and out.
I didn't know they made internet.
I am in West Covina, which is about maybe about 45-50-minute drive from Marie Callender's.
Yeah,
We usually have our meeting.
Or now like 20 minutes.
Past, off and on 4 or 5 years. I know Mark and Elaine Howard. But at any rate, I'm a director, writer, actor. Came in from Corpus Christi, Texas. I had the pleasure of actually shooting or being in a short film that was directed by Henry Abrams, J.J. Abrams.
Wow.
Son.
Wow, great.
At Bad Robot in Santa Monica.
Cool.
That was pretty amazing. But I've had a couple of help. Being at the table has allowed me to connect with people that have helped me make a short film that is currently still in the works. It hasn't been finished yet. Of course, these things kind of take time. And as you well know, it takes money as well.
Yes.
But I'm actually asking about voiceover work. How I know the voiceover business is very, very tight knit, and I think it's an industry where I think they do have people that they rely on, or that they know they can do the job. Do you have any advice for anybody that wants to get into that
Sure.
voice acting?
I mean, again, one of the reasons the table exists, and now we have offshoots all over the country, is so people can send out an email. Once you're a table member, you can send out an email to the entire group, and you can ask questions of people. And it's always a good idea when people are advising you to say, well, what has your personal experience been? Because people who've worked actively and successfully in any given industry, their advice will tend to be more effective, because it's and so there are many voiceover people, including Howard Benjamin, who have been very successful at doing voiceover and so forth. If one is in the LA area, it depends also if you want to do voiceover for animation or voiceover for commercials.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I just got some crosstalk, but the so
you probably should get in line.
Nope. Yes, I'm sorry about that, Rufino. But yes, so I mean, again, the animation writers of the Writers Guild meet once a month, and when it's not a plague, and that's always good if you want to be in animation. If it's commercials, then absolutely talking to Howard Benjamin, some of these other people, they can talk to you about narration and all of that. And again, as I always say, if one does a podcast or a documentary or a series of articles or a book, that gives one the permission, essentially, to interview the top people in any given field. And that, for instance, that was really why I did the Twilight Zone Companion, so I could learn how to write and produce television and talk to people who are creating the greatest television ever made. And it worked. And so I find that a very effective way of doing things. So anything else, Rufino? Any other questions?
That's it. You've
Cool.
been helpful,
well,
as
thanks.
always.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. Well, let's go over to Susan Flake. Yay, everybody.
Hi.
Yeah.
Nice
Hi,
to
Susan.
talk to you all the way from Boulder. I've missed the table.
Yes. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. I wanted to tell you I have a producer for a screenplay.
Oh, that's great.
And we're hoping to get it filmed later in this year, maybe next autumn. But he's terrific. We hope for the great actress Felicia Rashad. She's thinking about role.
Great.
I'm hoping she'll say yes.
Good.
But it's a biopic, historical. I think I told you when I was there when I was in LA a couple of months ago, I told you about, I mentioned it at the table. It's a screenplay based on the life of Harriet Jacobs.
Great.
She's considered the female slave that wrote one of the most famous narratives, and I have changed that into a movie.
Great.
And I put into that movie now the great Frederick Douglass. He's considered the greatest narrator of the male slave narrations.
Yes.
So getting them together is going to be, I think, phenomenal.
Great.
But the big question I have, and this is a difficult thing, the chicken and the egg thing. How do you get the top cast without the money, and how do you get the money without the top cast?
Yes, that's an ongoing challenge that most of us have. In science fiction, which of course is my particular addiction, my drug of choice, the actors go to the conventions. You can meet them in person. In other genres, it's much harder. But essentially, there's one of several ways. You can either offer them being a producer gig or a director gig, something like that. That's something that they want to move up into. But it's usually relationships. So, for instance, it's like 6 degrees of separation, where it's like, okay, somebody knows them. If you can enlist that person, they can reach out. But also going to film festivals is another way to meet producers and actors and directors. So even if you do a short film and get it into a film festival, then you might actually meet name actors. But if they don't know you, and if you go through their agents, that's almost impossible. If you don't have money,
we found that out.
It's a waste of time, because the agent just wants to know the money offer and wants to make sure the money is in hand. And that makes sense from a business perspective. But what I would suggest is what you might do is, well, for instance, like let's say you shot a 2 or 3 minute or 5 minute proof of concept, and then got that into a film festival, something that would tell a little bit of a story, and then and then started going to film festivals, started seeing what you could do, particularly film festivals, like African American film festivals, etc. And also think about who is your dream cast. For instance, you might go somewhere unusual, like for instance, certain African American actors are also in science fiction shows. And so you could go to a science fiction convention to meet some of those actors and then perhaps enlist them to be in your project. So again, sometimes coming at it from a left, out of left field will work. But yeah, go ahead.
And I did speak to one producer where this would sometimes work. If you go to the investor and you say, can you put your money in an interest-bearing escrow account based on me getting this actor or someone at this level, not to be released until I get this actor or someone at that level. That way, when you go to the actor, you can say, there's the money waiting for you. As soon as you say yes, I'm not going to get the money based on your name, but as soon as you say yes, the money is there in this account. I'll give your agent the account number and it will be released. Now, the donor would have to say, the funder would have to say, it must be released. I can't change my mind, because then you'll have egg on your face. But sometimes it works to have the money in the account and say, normally you could never get this actor at this price, but if we're doing it low budget, they really care about it, they're going to do it as a heart piece, which a lot of actors like to do. And we can get him for a song, but we need the money in the account. And then they release it as soon as he says yes.
Yeah, and again, but this is if this is something that works for you, because some people are very good talking with business people and convincing them to do insane things, and others aren't. What I found is, for me, working, writing the script, then attaching science fiction actors, then raising the money via crowdfunding and selling investment shares has worked very, very well. And so I like that model, because it actually leads to getting very quickly to where we can shoot.
Do you know who the director is going to be?
Excuse me?
Do you know who the director will be? The director?
No, we don't know that yet. I've proposed to Felicia. I'd like her to be an actor in it, but I've also proposed to her, maybe you should think about directing.
Okay, sure.
She's also a good director.
Well, yeah.
Well, that's good. I mean, because that would be the one reassuring thing you can offer an actor.
Yes.
Where an actor will sometimes do something for almost nothing if they know they're going to look good and it will be the movie will be released. So if you have, they'll look good if they have a strong director. So if you,
I'm hoping Felicia will really take that seriously.
Well, good.
I like that idea of the Sci-Fi festival.
Yeah.
Because I'm writing a sci-fi novel at the moment.
Okay.
And I want to turn it into a movie.
Cool.
So I'm into that realm as well.
Yeah. And again, it's just looking at what's going to make stuff happen. And, keep an eye out for talented young directors. Keep an eye out for, see, the lovely thing about things like Star Trek is someone who did a role that was maybe 2 or 3 days of work on their part, they're famous, decades later, and so you can utilize, you can build on that. It works. And so you might just want to type in, like, science fiction conventions, summer and fall, because of what's going on with coronavirus. You don't want anything set in the spring, but but they might be announcing who the actors are who are coming to those events, and that could be very useful. So
could be,
Well, great. Well, good, Susan. So, yay, Susan! 3 cheers.
And I have a comment from
and then we have a comment
from Dustin Pinney.
Yes, Dustin
says,
Pinney.
I'm torn between writing prose and writing for TV.
Yes,
I've had experience with both, but feel I need to get serious about one in order to build a career. Do you have advice on how to choose a path?
Yeah, sure.
What's his passion?
Well, yeah, what's your passion, but also, if you think of every idea you have as intellectual property, then you can utilize that in a number of different media. So you can write a TV script, turn it into a novel, turn it into an audio play, turn it into an audio book.
Which he's done.
Yeah, I've done all of that. When Elaine and I wrote the pilot for Magic Time, it was optioned 8 times by Henson and 7 other companies in succession. So that generated a fair amount of money. And then I sold it as a trilogy of novels to HarperCollins. And now we're coming, and we've done it as an audio play. We've done it as audio books. And now we're coming back to television with it. And, that's great. So it's not either or, but novels do take a lot of time to write if you know what you're doing, and so you want. I mean, the good part about novels is they cost less money to produce, and even self-publishing now has validity thanks to Amazon and all of that, whereas it used to be considered vanity press and no one would treat it seriously. That said, television, if you're writing for the networks or even the VOD platforms, that pays very well, particularly the networks. And so it's sort of like what gives you the most direct route to your audience? That's the real question, because building a fan base, building a viewership or a readership, that's what builds a career. As long as your work is just sitting in a drawer, not getting bought, not getting viewed, it's not serving any purpose really, other than having you practice your craft. And so I wouldn't. But the rules of publishing are very, very different from the rules of TV and film. So going, like if you're writing science fiction, going to the science fiction conventions that specialize in authors, like World Science Fiction Convention, World Fantasy Convention, then you can meet writers, you can meet publishers, you can meet editors, you can see how it works. Make sure that the work is solid. I mean, everyone thinks their writing is better than it is usually. And so you want to have, like if you want a career in science fiction prose, go to the Clarion Writers Workshop, because that's a great training ground for science fiction writers. I went there in 75 and sold my first short story. And when I was 19, it was a story I wrote when I was 18, and that I was off and running. So that's what I would suggest. But yes, but Elena's absolutely right. If you love television, write for TV. If you love novels, write that. But never write something that you're cynical about or doing just because you think it'll be a good business move. That never tends to work.
Just be aware that publishing is not what it used to be, because it was bought up by corporate.
Well, nothing entities. Is what it used to be.
Everything's bought by corporate.
But a lot of people.
Oh yes, yes, Jacob.
This is just a technical thing for Zoom.
Sure.
If we could have everybody just go down to the bottom left-hand side of the window where it says mute.
Yes. Oh,
yeah. If you're not talking, just click on that little microphone and mute yourself.
That'd be great.
I think a lot of people have. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Jacob, for that suggestion. Though I think we'll keep talking. But yes. So why don't we move on to Akira, who is a composer and so hi, Akira. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine, totally fine. Just this quarantine, just I'm staying in my room as much as possible.
Yes.
But it's as usual for composer.
Yes. For many of us, we live a life of solitude generally, so it's not that odd a transition.
Yeah, I'm feeling composer, and right now, I'm also mostly working for the horror film now, and one thing is good thing is there, my music library album is released.
Great.
Great.
Last February.
Cool.
It is a horror music library album, more than 12 songs and more than 12 tracks, because I recorded some other versions,
Yes.
But it released in Italy.
Oh dear. And they're not very well over there.
Okay, Yeah, exactly.
But
just don't say it went viral.
And what I'm doing, other things that what I'm doing is teaching a guitar and teaching the Japanese, because I'm Japanese and I speak Japanese much more than English.
Yes.
And I'm also right now I'm really accepting the more and more online student, to make money, and if somebody who wants to learn Japanese, and I will give them some table discount.
Yes. Sure, of course.
But for me, right now I do not have the big question, but just I want to ask one question for fun to Mr. Sci-Fi.
Sure.
You? Okay.
Of
right
course.
Now this is a critic situation. It's almost science fiction.
Yes, it is. It is.
Right now, maybe internet gives us the globalization.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And Facebook gives us the globalization. But this corner, you can say a kind of globalization, because this is the first time we are facing the, one enemy
Yes.
with all nation,
Yes.
This
Yes.
is the first experience,
Yeah.
And this is the one thing. And the other thing, if you compare to the music, we cannot go back to the vinyl age anymore.
Yes.
And we can go back to the compact disc age anymore because now we are, having the streaming is prevailing now.
Yes.
Like that, maybe, after the, this mess is gone, we are not going back to the normal. Maybe some other new world is coming after this coronavirus.
Yeah.
And,
go ahead.
What do you guess? If the coronavirus is right now, it's going to normal, but something is absolutely changed. Before the coronavirus and after coronavirus.
Yes.
And what's your opinion?
Well, I mean, having seen a number of films and read a number of books akin to what we're experiencing now, I'm just waiting for people to turn into zombies. I mean, that's my take on it. But you're absolutely right. And one of the things I find fascinating is because of the internet, we're not isolated the way we would otherwise be. Because there was a writer named Horton Foote who wrote the screenplay for To Kill a Mockingbird and Tender Mercies, and we had lunch with him in New York some years ago, and his parents had survived the 1918 influenza epidemic that killed, 5 million people around the globe. And it was, and he lost a baby sister from that epidemic. But back then, people had telephones and they had cinema, but they didn't really have radio. It wasn't really up and running very effectively. So they were really isolated back then. And during an epidemic, a global pandemic. And so I think we're lucky to have the ways of communicating we now have, but you're right. It is all of humanity facing this thing and dealing with it in varying degrees of effectiveness. You really see how an ineffective government can really exacerbate a problem. So
1918, they couldn't dream of the amount of misinformation we have today.
Yes, exactly. Yes. But every generation has its own foolishness. I mean, they were just coming out of World War I, for God's sake. But I think this will certainly prepare us for the asteroid that's eventually going to hit Earth. So I mean, the one thing I find fascinating is that
you can say this. You can say the World War III now.
Yes. No, but I think one thing that differs from fiction is how ineffective people are in facing things. In books and movies and TV shows, they often are much more effective, and the person says, well, here's what we have to do, and it turns out to be the right answer. In life, it's much harder, much more a gray area. So, but I'm really glad that people are coming together as much as they are. I think it's incumbent on all of us to be kind. I was out at Target earlier today getting some items, and I noticed a couple of people being extremely rude and extremely short-tempered. And I thought, oh, that's unfortunate, because I always try to go out of my way to be kind, particularly in times of crisis. And because again, if you can surround yourself with kind people, eventually, if you're clever, you can kill and eat them. But when the chips are down, so that's definitely my plan B. So, but great. Well, thank you, Akira. Great to see you.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
All right. So I've got a bunch of questions here.
I'm sorry to say I have to leave right now. I have a very early morning, a Zoom meeting.
Okay, great. Globalization says, what advice do you have on getting resources for sci-fi projects outside of the USA? In Australia, where I live, there is not many sci-fi projects, and getting things like hiring spacesuits is hard.
Yes. Well, when it's not a time of plague,
right?
Definitely coming to America would be a good idea. I've got 8 spacesuits just myself. I mean, you can see one behind me, and that's a real one. But but not to be facetious about this, the science fiction community is an amazing community, and I think because of the internet, we can now reach out to others. We had a spacesuit competition that I'm probably going to do again. Now would be a great time actually to start that one up again. And someone I didn't even know made a spacesuit and sent it to me, and we're using it. So I think even in Australia, you can, if you become part of a fan organization, like go to the science fiction conventions in Australia, meet the fans, become part of a larger network of people, also become part of the maker community, because the maker community and the cosplay communities, they're making stuff. And if you see something online that you think is cool, reach out to that person, because people, particularly fans, if they're making original stuff, they would love to see their stuff in a film or in a, web series or whatever. That's exciting for them.
It's important to see yourself as part of an international community.
Yes.
If you're science fiction.
Yes.
Because one of the things that really excited us during the first, when we put out the first campaign to get some money from public financing,
mm-hmm.
We had money coming in from all over the world.
Yes.
So the really good thing is but not just for science fiction, if you become aware, even if you're in far out Australia, that the film community is international, and to become sensitive to the international community of film.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not really restricted to just selling and buying and getting money from Australia. If you're creating really good product,
mm-hmm.
it's easy to reach out to the US, to London, to France. I mean, we got money on our campaign from everywhere.
And also to mention to those who don't know, we have a Kickstarter campaign going right now for Space Command to shoot Hour 4, and we're also selling investment shares in Space Command. So if anyone's interested in that stuff, let us know down the road. But yes, but
tell your friends.
Tell your friends. But the main thing is, and this is something I would say to everyone who's listening to the sound of my voice and all the ships at sea, that don't do things alone. I mean, honest to God, I had one friend who was a genius, and he made a film, and he decided he was going to write it, direct it, star in it, edit it, do the visual effects, all that stuff, and it took forever. And
see you.
Oh.
No, I don't have camera.
Okay, and make sure you mute your if you hang on, we have to mute. If you haven't muted your mics, please do. Okay, great. There we go. Got it. But again, my friend decided he was going to do everything, and as a result, it took so long to make the movie that his talents were no longer on the cutting edge anymore. And so he kind of shot himself in the foot, and then put his foot in his mouth, essentially. And so again, the more we build teams, the better, and the more we honor our word and do what we say we're going to do. That's all to the good. Michelle, are you waving or raising your hand?
Yeah. I was raising my hand. I don't really know what the formalities are.
Oh well, I'm just going down the row from the top to the bottom and then over to page 2. But if you want to take your turn, please do, and then we'll go back to John Brady up top.
No, I just wanted to say, in regard to this business of doing things internationally, it's very significant that the Academy Award is no longer a best foreign film. It's now a best international film.
Yes.
Because everything is made with so many. I've got to keep my hand out of this film. Everything is made with so many different countries involved that it's no longer just a French film or just a German film or just a Norwegian film, whatever. Everybody's got their feet in it, so it just becomes international.
Yes. Well, one thing that's really astonishing and something that most people don't tend to notice, Netflix has had an enormous transformative power in media, because it used to be generally that if you wanted to watch a TV show or a movie that was foreign, you had to go to a movie theater. You had to select it, and most foreign television never even got here unless it was British, and even a lot of the British stuff didn't get here. Now Netflix found that people are willing to watch shows in different languages and movies in different languages, and so it's a great game changer, because now we can watch a Norwegian TV show or something from China or whatever, and it can entertain us. And I think that's terrific. And so I'm not, I think I applaud that. I don't mind that at all. So should we go up to you, John?
Oh, no, it's
Brady,
it's Dave.
Dave. This has moved around. Hi, Dave. I guess it's your turn. If you want to unmute yourself.
Unmute yourself.
There we go.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to cyberspace. I hope everybody's doing all right and got what you need. Let me tell you what I've been up to here in my little editing bay. We've been working on Space Command. For those of you who don't know me, I'm I'm the editor of Space Command.
Yay.
I've been an editor for about 20 years.
He's a brilliant editor. He's
prior
wonderful.
to being an editor 20 years or so ago, actually it's about 22 by now, I was a stand-up comic. I was an actor and a writer. Now I'm doing this.
Great.
Where we've got the first hour out, we're putting out webisodes on a weekly basis.
Yes.
Oh, when you get a chance, Mark, do that outro for the next webisode.
Yes, I will. And for those who aren't subscribers to Mr. Sci-Fi, my YouTube channel, you can definitely see all the webisodes and all the things we're posting. So definitely subscribe to it if you haven't. But go ahead, Dave. But Dave is great to work with. He's been along the long haul, and we're working on the audio play and hour 1 and hour 2 and hour 3 and hour 4. It's a 12-hour season on Space Command, and we're working on all the other stuff too. So it's pretty cool.
And the audio play is being converted to an animatic using the comic book of Space Command.
Yes.
It's titled Untitled Plant. Untitled Plant.
United Planet. Yes, very funny.
I'm sorry?
United Planet. Very funny.
United Planet.
Yeah.
I was close. I was really close.
Yes, you were.
And we're waiting for more of the finished artwork on that, and it'll keep growing as that gets sent. I think she's fairly remote, so she should be healthy. Where she's down south somewhere.
She goes between Mexico and like San Diego-ish. So Tahani Farr, she's incredibly talented.
She's a terrific artist.
Oh yeah,
Tahani Farr. So
she's great.
Anyway, so that's about what's going on here.
Cool.
If you need to know anything, you know where to find me.
Great, thank you, Dave. Yay! Cheers. And again, this speaks to what I was talking about earlier. Find the team members. Build your team with people who are on your wavelength, and just again, don't flake. I mean, if you say you're going to do something, do it. And if you say and try to pay people, if you can't pay them, work out trades that are equitable. Pay it forward, whatever you need to do, but don't misuse people, but find the people who kind of get what you're up to. And if that doesn't work, then look at your work very closely and see if the work is solid, if it's doing what you need it to do. But Dave and I have been working together very, very well, and he wakes up every day with a song in his heart, and you
don't want to know what that song is.
Yes. And but yeah. So but thanks, Dave. Thanks a lot. So John Brady, do you want to introduce yourself and say anything?
Hello?
Hi, John.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. You sound great.
Hi.
Wow.
Okay.
Hey, we can see you.
So I was brought onto the table about a year ago. I was in LA doing actually another shoot for another film.
Great.
I'm in Miami, Florida. That's where I'm based out of.
Cool.
Let's see, last year. Hello. What?
Oh, go ahead, John. We can hear you.
Okay. All right. So this last year, I spent a lot of time doing a lot of acting, mostly student films, but some short films, and a couple dozen auditions. I did some work for a law firm. They needed like a training material where you basically act out a particular type of juror. So you're a mock juror, but with different characters. And they also gave me some print work, print modeling over there. So
cool.
It's been an interesting year.
Yes.
So I mean, I guess I'm a producer, but I've just been having fun, just going out and seeing what I can do. Basically, stretching any of my abilities.
That's great.
That I can.
That's great. So, do you have any questions, or is there anything you need?
I guess I probably, I could probably learn this by paying attention a little bit more and maybe taking a few of the classes that I think I have on track with you. But all right, one thing I noticed is that I'm never sure whenever somebody gives me a role to how how heavy to lay into the role. In other words, I don't want to like overact, but then again, sometimes I'll underact, and I feel like I should have given a little bit more.
Yes.
Should I just tell them, hey, I'm gonna blast it? Tell me to calm down, or
no? Elaine can speak to that.
Yes.
Elaine will speak to that.
Yeah. The important thing, you don't want to be with someone who forces you to act phony, right? Because your face is going to be up there, and they won't know you had a bad director. It's going to be you who pays the price. But the important thing is, it doesn't, like I as a director, I don't care if it's small or if it's big. What I want is for you to own it, to really believe what you're saying. Where, you know the phrase, indicate, right? Did you know the phrase indicate? There's a phrase called indicating for actors, where if you're indicating, it means that...
Get closer to your mic, Elaine.
Oh, okay. If you're indicating, what that means is that, oh, I'm supposed to play an angry scene. So what would that look like? Oh, I guess I'm going to tighten my fists, and I guess I'm going to make my voice louder, and I'm going to furrow my brow. That's indicating, because you're imagining what it would look like. When you're not indicating, you just go inside yourself and you let yourself feel really angry. And sometimes when we're really angry, we're feeling hurt at the same time. But sometimes we can barely get a word out. I mean, we can barely talk. We're saying, I don't care what you're saying. Or we may be shouting it. The important thing is that you can own it, that you really feel it. And when somebody makes a correction in a tryout, often you may have just given a very good reading, but they just want to know if you can take direction and own it. So if you were like saying something very, very quietly because you were afraid of your own emotion, and I said, make it much bigger, what I would want you to do is to simply go inside and still feel the same feelings, but just let it become explosive. But if you fake it, I've had classes, I've had audiences, they know right away if you're not planted in that moment, if you're not feeling what you're supposed to be feeling.
Yes. And one of the things we have to be careful of is that often there are very bad examples on television. There are actors who got cast in series where they're doing very fake acting, very unconvincing, and they're being rewarded for that. You must never follow a bad example and emulate it, because then you will not rise to your greatest possibility. Because we're watching Better Call Saul now just for fun at the end of the evenings, and it's a great show, great acting, great writing, great in every department, and very naturalistic, and layered, and it's good. Whereas there's other shows, there were some shows we just sampled the other day, which I won't name, but they were terrible, and it was like, and every actor was like lousy, and it was like, my God,
they were reciting their lines. Yeah. They were saying, "What do you mean by that?" Things like that. And you're going, "Oh my God."
Yeah. It was. It made coronavirus look good, and but that's our thought about that. Anything else, John?
No, I mean, I did kind of want to bring up something on coronavirus. I don't know if anyone's noticed, but I heard some news that Netflix has actually been asked to slow down, to throttle their users, because the internet doesn't have the structure to handle this many people on it at the same time.
Wow, that's interesting.
Just to give you an idea of what's going on.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, the news that I just got on my phone was from our personal trainer, because they've come out at least until the 14th with in California with a new dictates where they're closing all the gyms. They had our gym open because it had physical therapy and very few people, but they're closing that. And they're making it a dictate that the only reason you're allowed to leave your house is for medical reasons or to get food, something like that.
Yes. Yeah.
Other than that, you have to stay in your house. They really want isolation.
Wow. That's interesting.
Or to empty the dog.
Yes. Speaking of which,
we're allowed to.
I'm going to take the dogs around. So
why don't I do that?
No. You're sure?
Yeah. I'll empty the dogs.
Okay.
In Arizona, thank goodness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jesus. Okay, so Dan.
Hold on.
Yes, what?
We
There's
got to
a question.
catch up.
Sure. We got to catch up on the Mr. Sci-Fi folks. Okay.
All right. Charles Nathan has a very good question.
Okay, good.
What steps did you take when beginning to build your fan base?
Yes.
Viewership for Space Command.
Yes.
Are these steps others can follow to begin building a base for a project?
That's a very interesting question. First of all, by the way, if anyone has ideas of how to build the audience beyond what we have on Mr. Sci-Fi, I'm very open to that. YouTube, skills, any of that stuff, because I would like to expand my fan base. But that said, my fan,
as we've just found out, more people are online now than have been in recent memory.
Yes.
So if we're going to strike, the iron is hot.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And but the thing is, the way I started it. Well, first of all, you have to figure out what's going to get people to pay attention to you, and as I said earlier, the science fiction community is very close knit, and I've been a science fiction fan since I was a little kid. So if something excites me, I generally know that I'll have an audience that will kind of dig what I'm doing. It won't be everybody, but it'll be a lot of people. So that helps. But also I became friendly at the conventions with the actors. And so then when I did the Star Trek episode with George Takei, Bob Picardo saw it, really liked it, said he wanted to work with me. I'd come from, network television for decades, but even if I hadn't, by creating something that was of quality, and that can be on the internet, that's something you can do without a studio or a network. You build from quality. You create something of quality, then that allows actors to feel confident that if they work with you, something good will come of it. And then you just build upon that. You start a YouTube channel, you go to conventions, you get a booth at a convention. It's basically anything you can think to do that will get people to pay attention to you. The mistake that most people make is let's say they have no credits or they haven't achieved any kind of fan base at all. Well, then they do something where they don't attach anything or anyone that's famous already, that already has a fan base. So for instance, they do something, so they've never been heard of. The project they're doing has never been heard of. The people in it are generally unknown. And then they're surprised when no one pays attention. And so you have to think to yourself before you do the project, what's going to get people to pay attention to this? Now, again, don't guess. Talk to people who know. And, my mentors, as many of you know, have been Rod Serling. He was deceased when I wrote The Twilight Zone Companion, but I went deeply into his life. And, Ray Bradbury was a friend and mentor. Guillermo del Toro has been a collaborator with me and a mentor. And the people I choose to learn from, and the various showrunners who are friends of mine, I choose people who know what they're doing, who've succeeded. And I say, okay, well, let's see what their bag of tricks is. And but for instance, if you were just starting out and weren't well known, I would, and sometimes you can attach people who aren't even, like for instance, Dickens has a following, Mark Twain has a following. Those are public domain. If you find a science fiction story by H.G. Wells, anything where people are interested, and then you find a way to, that's the starting point. And then you go to science fiction conventions and you trade up in terms of who you're working with. I did the Star Trek episode with George Takei that got me nominated for the Hugo and the Nebula. Guillermo was nominated opposite me. I'd met him in passing a couple times, and they came to me and said, "You want to write this book with Guillermo? He's looking for a collaborator." And I said yes, because I wanted to learn from him. It wasn't, the money was, incidental, and I didn't really need another nonfiction credit, but that was a way of learning. And so that's what I would suggest. Start to build your contacts and work with people who know what they're doing. But also you need, thank you for showing my book up top. It's the Guillermo book. But yes, so that's what I would suggest. So Dan, do you want to introduce yourself and take your swing? How are you, Dan?
Hey, I'm in New York.
Wow.
I've been to a couple of the LA meetings.
That's great.
Enjoyed it very much. And the gentleman who was looking for voiceover, I have a friend who was playing guitar for Toad the Wet Sprout.
Wow.
And he decided to get into voiceover, and an agent told him, just stick to guitar, you have no talent. And he said that he went and watched commercials for 6 months. He would erase or he would skip over the programming and watch the commercials instead, which is what most people, the opposite of what most people
That's
do.
funny.
Right.
And then he went to Kelmanson in Burbank and took some classes and made his first demos. And long story short, he's become one of the top voiceover people. He does movie previews. He does NBC, Thursday on NBC. And his agent with Paradigm is the same guy who told him stick to guitar.
Yes, yes. But that's a really important lesson, because again, no one has the right to take away your dream. No one has the right to deny you your future. It's not about talent, and that's why I almost never use that word. It's about persistence and wearing the mountain down, drop by drop. It's like so many people I know who are talented have fallen by the wayside because they don't have the drive. But if people are driven, and if they're willing to listen to criticism and improve their skills, they'll usually do pretty well. Because if you're good to work with, if you're reliable, if you know how things work, if you deliver, you generally do okay. And so no, that's a very important. But the other thing is,
his name is Rick Robles. He's done really well. But so I'm a stand-up comic based in New York. I travel all over the world. The project I'm working on now, when I was last there, we were just working on this book about Eddie Van Halen. My friend is a director who lived at Eddie Van Halen's house for about a year, and he just published it. It's called Eruption in the Canyon.
Wow!
And this is it. This is a photo book with a whole bunch of pictures of Eddie, like from inside 5150.
How neat!
It's pretty amazing.
That's great.
So I think there was a gentleman who was saying that we can promote the book on which. Anyway, I'll look at the chat. So that's what I have going on right now. But
great.
I'll pass to the next person.
Okay.
Thank you, Mark, for doing this.
Thank you, Dan.
Dan, what's your club in New York? When they're open?
Club?
Yeah.
Which club do you work at?
I don't do clubs. I do more corporate and charity gales and private parties.
That's great.
But Mark, thanks very much for doing this on Zoom. This is great.
Yeah.
And who knows? Hopefully, you won't have to do it too long. But and congratulations on Space Command, and thank you for everything that you do. And I go to the New York table. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And thanks so much for starting all this. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Well, but again, thank you, Dan. I appreciate that. I mean, one thing that people can really get from myself and Elaine when she's not walking dogs is that we come from our heart. We're passionate about what we do. Fortunately, my mother was very kind, so I grew up not threatened by other people. I genuinely like other people, and so their success I cheer for. And so as a result, coming from kindness and coming from compassion and supportiveness of others, it's a great thing, and my work reflects the values that I have in my life. So again, people who think that they can play a strategic game and succeed, that makes it much harder. If you come from your passions, if you come from what you just love, and find the other people who love that same thing, that's going to put you way, way, way ahead. So and also the thing in your story, the story you told, Dan, the other thing that's really important is remember that people who say that you don't have the talent or you're never going to make it or any of that, they just haven't been won over. They haven't been convinced. And so that's an ongoing conversation. That's the opening of the conversation, not the end of it. And if you don't give away power, if you don't make them your judge, and you just say, I am here to learn, I am here to get better at what I do, and you take what you can from that, and you don't allow anyone to stop you. I mean, one of the things that has succeeded very well for me is the fact that I'm unstoppable. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And if it takes a while, okay, it takes a while. If it's hard, okay, it's hard. But that's not going to stop me, and that's an enormous asset. So, was there another question?
Yes. We have
Mr. Sci-Fi fans.
Dave A. writes.
Hi, Dave.
I have an editor credit on a role-playing game supplement.
Great.
I want to build to a credited writer, but in my small town, I lack a writers group and can't afford going to Clarion. Your suggestions?
Okay, bake sale. Have a bake sale. A lot of people feel stopped by, I can't afford that. Well, I mean, if you don't let money stop you, if you think creatively and say, okay, how can I do this? How could I make this work? It's like, with Space Command, I couldn't have afforded to make Space Command on my own, but it took, 8,000 people around the world to fund Space Command. So if it was my thinking outside the box that allowed me to do this. if you're in a small town and you don't have a writers group, well, you know, go online, start looking for people. If you, and by the way, many writers have their own websites. It depends on what genre you're writing. And if you were writing in science fiction, you can join the Science Fiction Writers of America, even as an associate member, and that will allow you to reach out to all the science fiction writers. Often, if you reach out to someone, and again, that's where starting a podcast can be incredibly useful, because a podcast allows you to ask all the nosy questions, all the questions about how does this work, whatever this is. And a podcast allows you to interview people anywhere you are. I mean, here we are tonight talking to people all across the country. And, you know, so don't be cowed by the fact you're in a small town. Use that as an asset. You could come up with a podcast called Small Town Writer, you know, and then, you know, and then you could interview all these other small town writers who are famous, you know, like Stephen King is in Bangor, Maine, for God's sake. You know, you could say, okay, who are my favorite writers who live in small towns? And then you could start interviewing them. And that would start to build your group of advisors. So I would advise that. You know, if you want to write for TV, you pretty much have to move to LA. If you want to write films, God, I don't know. I mean, I strongly believe in making stuff. I don't believe in just writing scripts and trying to get Hollywood to pay attention. I think it's a losing strategy. I now that we all have cameras and yeah. So I guess Sam, if you want to talk, it's your turn, Sam. I guess let's see. How do we unmute you? I guess Sam's just, I guess Sam's not, it's you, Sam. But I guess you're not hearing well, did you want to, I don't know if you want to take a turn, Sam, but I guess if not, we can move on to Antonia. If Antonia wants to chime in. Hi, Antonia. We have to unmute you. If you have to unmute there you go. There you go. Now we can hear you.
Okay, sorry. I didn't mean to be rude. I'm just eating my dinner and I didn't want to say that.
That's okay. And where you're located?
It's a pleasure to be here with you guys tonight. I got to tell you, this situation with the coronavirus.
There's a coronavirus?
It's been amazing.
Yes.
So it's all good. But my name is Antonia Roman. I'm a producer and a director of my company, That's So Funny Entertainment. Let's see, what's the update? My podcast that I started about 6 months ago is doing very well. I've already done about 25 episodes at this point. So it's going very, very well. I rapped with Robert Davis on a short film that we did together. I was a director on that project. We're currently in post-production for that. I am right now re-editing a pilot that I shot with an editor. And I got to tell you that even though we were not able to meet in person, if anybody ever wants to do an editing session, there is a software called Team Viewer where you can actually view the screen of the editor and you can both edit together.
Wow.
It's a great program. I always like doing it with him for like hours.
That's great.
So let's see what else. You know, I am currently in development with another producer for a showcase that's going to be taking place in Los Angeles, where we were supposed to start in March, but because of all this, it's been postponed. So it's not going to be either in June or July, providing everything is well by then.
Cool.
Where people actually get to come and showcase their talent.
Great.
So that's coming up. Once I have more information, I will give this table that information.
Great.
Let's see, what else? I'm almost done writing my second book from the first book that I wrote last year.
Great.
Let's see what else. Just a couple of things in development, but I noticed that I've been very busy this week, like because everything kind of just stopped. People started calling me from like the East Coast, like, what should I do now? I'm stuck. I lost my job. It just seems like, you know, I'm getting busy at a time where everybody's like not getting busy, getting laid off, or whatever the case might be.
Yes.
And because we have technology, I mean, that's the beautiful part about it, you know. Technology right now, just like you were saying, I mean, be creative, make something. There's people going online now that have never been online. And they have, you know, a great following all of a sudden. So there's a lot of stuff to be done. So I haven't been to the table in a long time. I've just been busy. So when we were doing this, I'm like, great, because I'll finish my session and then I can just hop on.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much for me. We did finish a key script that is going to go to a really big person who wanted us to do the script. Cool. So I'm excited about that, and I anticipate that probably within the next 3 years that'll be in production.
Great. Well, that's great.
I'm excited. Just still doing the usual, my television, film stuff.
Great.
That's it.
Terrific. Well, thanks, Antonia. Thank you. Yay.
All right.
So,
and I have Arvin Donner.
Okay.
Says, any thoughts on working a room to get meetings when you have a script? What other industry networking groups in LA would you go to besides the table?
Yeah.
Also, do you have any thoughts on series Bibles?
Yes, I do. Let's see, that's a big question. Again, it's like the rules change, and so you really need to have people. If you want to be working in TV, if you want to, or in movies, you have to be in conversation with people who are succeeding, because if you're not, you don't know what to do. There's a million people with no credits who are going to events, so-called networking events, and trying to work the room and getting nowhere. And, in LA, people tend not to like to say no. You don't know what they're thinking or feeling. They're trying to be pleasant in the conversation. They'll say, oh, yeah, well, send it to me. I'll read it. And then you do, and they don't respond at all. And that's because no one likes to read. Everyone hates to read scripts, except for, people who were, warped in childhood or whatever. But so the trick is to say, what can I do to get people excited about this? This is why I strongly believe in shooting stuff, because it's much more fun to watch something if it's any good than to try to read a script. A script by its very nature is a slog. There are very few screenplays that read well, that are enjoyable to read. But if you want to know how to work a room, I like to ask questions. I like to ask questions of people rather than try and foist my script on them. So if you go to industry events, start with making a list of whose work you like. And if you're in Los Angeles or in New York or where you can go to film festivals, go there and listen to people talk who have done work that you love. And if you can ask a question, and it isn't like, will you read my screenplay? But it's like, well, when you were starting out and you had a script, how did you get noticed? And what you'll often find is they'll say, well, my cousin, his girlfriend worked at William Morris. And there's always like some contact or some way in. I remember Ron Moore, who's the great showrunner of Battlestar Galactica and Outlander and so forth. The way he got his break was he got via a friend, he got a trip to the set of the Star Trek The Next Generation. He thought, well, if I'm going to Star Trek The Next Generation, I better have a Star Trek script under my arm. And he did. And luckily for him, Star Trek was the only show on the air at that time that took submissions from unsolicited writers. And they read it and they hired him, and it was the beginning of his career. But that's super rare. Beyond the table, Variety has conferences when it's not coronavirus time. There's Content London, Content LA. There's Produced By. There's a variety of conferences. I would go to any event that has people with credits, people who've done real work. Because most people, when you go to most events in LA or wherever, it's people who've never sold anything or never gotten very far in their career. And as a result, they're not going to have the answers that you need to get where you want to go. And so I would strongly urge you to start with the people who you admire and ask for information, ask questions. That's where I would start. And if I were starting out now rather than back in 1975 when I sold my first short story, and again, to clarify, I started writing The Twilight Zone Companion in 1977 when I was like 21. I was writing for TV by the time I was 22 or 23. But in that case, I took a class with Clarion. It was taught by all these science fiction writers I admired. That led to my selling my first short story. With writing for television, it was Michael Reeves, who was a teaching assistant on a class I took taught by Theodore Sturgeon, who was one of the great science fiction writers. And Michael became friends with me, and he was writing for television already and brought me in. And with books, with like the Twilight Zone book, I started going to science fiction conventions when I was a teenager, and I met George Clayton Johnson, who was one of the great writers of the Twilight Zone, and that worked. So, so I was, everything I'm advising is stuff I did in my own career that worked. So let's go to you, Dana. Dana Sparks, if you want to talk, we have to unmute. Hi, Dana. How are you?
Nice to see you guys.
You too. You too.
Good to see you.
How's it going?
I'm here in Venice Beach. I'm all right. I just finished a film I'm an actress, everybody, and I did a Star Trek, Next Generation.
Yes.
I was in Contagion.
Yes. How apt.
Throw rocks.
Yes.
So I just finished a film for a Lifetime. I'm happy about that.
Great.
It's just nice to get that momentum going, only to be halted a little bit.
Yes.
What do I want to ask you about? I get things that come my way. I'm really good at connecting people.
Yes.
And I've got some friends that I've read their scripts, and some of them are awesome. And I do know some people, like Don Belisario of JAG, who's obviously a great producer. He's done tons of things forever.
Cool.
What's the best way to kind of present an idea that, I always kind of say I'm a champion of something, and I've found this, and I've only really come across 3 that I really, really love. And one of them is a family type TV show. How do you present that to someone that's kind of like outside your realm of like how far up the ladder they are?
Right.
And
the question is always what's in it for them. That's the piece that most people forget to think about when they're pitching something. The question is, why should they take the meeting? Why should they talk to you? What gives you credibility? And I don't mean you specifically, I mean any of us. I always look toward, but for me, it's always like, what's the most direct route to getting stuff made? That really simplifies things. Like and I think for all of us who are cooped up right now, it's a really interesting question of, well, what could I do from where I am? Like, for instance, like, let's say you've got a really good script that you'd like to get made. Well, then what you can do is contact your friends, cast it, and do it just like this on Zoom as a table read, and then put it and then publicize it anywhere you can. Because, and that if you get attention, that starts to get buzz and so forth. So, you come up with something that's an unusual solution.
But as far as using friends,
yes,
helping friends with people who are higher up the ladder, one of the first things that I would do would be to do a little bit of research on like Don Belisario and say, what is he looking for? What might he really like? Then, instead of trying to get him to look at it, just say, I have a question. I know this is in the realm of I read this amazing script. It's in the realm of what you'd like. What would you advise that I do with it? Who might I take it to? Don't say I'll take it to you. Just say who might be interested. Who might I take it to? Because it's a lot better to ask questions than favors. And he may end up by saying, "Oh, I'll have a look at that." But if not, he'll give advice if he's not ready to.
Right.
But look at him. Look at the script. See if emotionally there's a connection. From what he's done before in terms of thematic content. And if it seems to be a really good match in what you've read up about him, then just say, I've got this. I know you've done similar things. Just do you have so I thought you might be sensitive to this. What advice? I think this is a wonderful, wonderful piece. Just any suggestions? Yes?
Oh, no, that's
okay. So
and again, for all of those who aren't speaking, make sure that your mic is muted.
Yes.
So there we go. Yeah. Okay, great.
Because again, it's you always want to ask questions and not favors. And that's when we've gotten the most favors done.
Right. But again, if you decide that you're going to be the catalyst and you're going to make stuff happen, it's very liberating. And then it just becomes a question of how and not if. Again, when I started, it cost millions of dollars to make pretty much anything. And you had to shoot 35 millimeter or 16. And it was a massive, massive undertaking. And to get it seen was just a nightmare. Now it's so easy. I mean, it's so much easier to make something than to try to sell something, and and making something can get the attention that leads to a lot of stuff happening. So, but I would really, and sometimes, by the way, I introduce some of my successful friends to each other. That also can be very useful. So if you have a friend who's a successful director and a friend who's a successful producer, sometimes you just say, I think you guys should know each other. And then you take them to lunch. And then they're both grateful to you. And you've just made something happen. And so I do that. And often I do that when there's nothing in it for me at all. And many of my friends have gotten work from my doing that for them. And then, and it's just something that builds a positive creative energy around me. And so that's another thing you can do. And this goes back to what do people need? Because if you get someone a job, they're going to like you a lot. And so that's some of it. But again, with you, if you have projects you want to see happen, get advice from people who are doing those things and say, okay, well, how did you do this? How do you pull this off? In Hollywood, there are many more people saying no than saying yes. Most projects never get made. Most projects never see the light of day, even projects that strongly deserve to be made. So again, I think it's almost like being a midwife to something. You say, how am I going to bring this into the world? And I don't know is a starting point, not the end point. I don't know then leads to, well, who do I know who might know? And then it would be, if I don't know anyone who might know, who do I know whose work I admire? Who don't I know who would have the answer to this, and how do I get to them? And so it becomes a whole process of inquiry. It all starts with inquiry. I never take an action until I know what actually has a shot at working. I don't fly by the seat of my pants in that way. I don't go on guesswork, and that's helped me a lot. So yeah. So anything else, Dana?
I posted something on the chat there. I took a master class with Risa Brayman Garcia over at her studio.
Great.
And I'm just, oh my God. I mean, when Elaine, when you were talking about, acting from your heart,
yes,
that is what that studio is more about than anything I've ever come across.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's great.
All my time. And I just so highly recommend it if any actors are listening. And there were directors and writers in our class too. And it's just dropping all the pretense, dropping all the acting, and just letting it be, and having the license to do that. So I highly recommend that.
That's great.
To anybody out there that's looking.
Terrific.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Thanks. Yay, Dana. Thanks. So now,
speaking of actors, I have a question from O.D. Dillon, who says, Mark, does an actor really need an agent to get anywhere in the craft?
No.
But first, may I say some very good advice from if you want to get anywhere in Hollywood, take Fountain.
That's a street here in Los Angeles, guys. It's an old joke from Betty Davis, who was an actor once upon a time. So, do you need an agent? Most agents are like pet rocks. They don't really do anything. You want a good one, and usually what motivates a good agent is cash flow. You're earning 6 figures or 7 figures, and they get a percentage of that, and so they're motivated. If you're not earning anything, they're not motivated. So so that becomes a question. But that said, again, start with making quality work. So in other words, let's say you don't have an agent, then start looking at student films, start looking at web series, start looking at who's talented. Reach out to those people and say, I'd like to be in your work.
If you're in California, there's Film Independent.
Yes.
But you usually don't start with an agent because an agent wants too much cash flow. You start with a manager.
Right.
And to get the manager, you usually start with community and community of your fellows in terms of making stuff. So, and even when you have an agent, it will still mostly come from you and your community. I've seen people kill their careers, both actors and writers, by having a relationship with somebody in the industry. And then when they got an agent, because they were shy, they sort of like handed this contact over to their agent.
Yes.
And that was the end of that relationship and the end of that opportunity. So we have to become comfortable with community. So you start out with community, making things together, then perhaps looking for managers by backward engineering. You see what new people with real ability have broken into the industry, and then you find out who their managers were, who deals with new people successfully. Then once you've gotten some stuff under your belt, you can get an agent who can help you whether you like them or not. They can help you. We've had agents who were ever so nice, but they were less likely to be able to pick up the phone and make a call than we were.
Yeah.
But so you don't jump for an inexperienced agent.
But just remember that you want to do something as an actor that really blows people away. And so it's better to do something of quality. I mean, a web series, a short, anything, because it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't serve to get cast as like hot dog vendor with one line. You want mustard on that? No one's there's. It's impossible. You know, it's there's nothing you can do with it. We were watching what we were watching. Well, we were watching this bad movie the other night. And there were like great actors in the scene. It was like, holy cow, they're doing a lot with nothing. And that was impressive. But again, we
still turned off the movie.
We still turned off the movie. They couldn't save it. But again, if you say to yourself, how do I create something that shows me at the top of my game? That's the real question. That's the real issue. But you can say, whose writing do I love? Like, for instance, let's say that one of your favorite writers, TV and movie writers. I mean, I would look at who won the Emmy for Best Writing or the Oscar for Best Writing, 10 or 15 years ago. Those people are probably, they're all cooped up in their apartments now too. So you could probably reach out to them and say, hey, I'd like to do a short. I love your work. You got anything I can shoot? They might, come up with something. And then you're doing something from the writer of, insert your favorite movie's name here.
But in picking a role, it doesn't have to be big or melodramatic. It just has to be something that you understand at core.
Yes.
We had a very interesting experience when we were invited to one of those, things where the actors invite everybody to watch their scenes, and they invite all of the casting directors to watch their scenes. So somebody invited us, and we went, and there were all of these young, attractive actors and actresses jumping up and down and shouting and going off benches and on benches, and everybody was just watching them and sort of nodding. And then one older gentleman who was balding had this very quiet scene with a woman who came in and sat beside him, and he was like bracing himself to dump her.
Mm-hmm.
And then she sat down and she started to dump him. And as soon as she started to dump him, he got extremely tense and had to know why, and had to convince her not to dump him because he couldn't stand to be dumped.
Right.
And it was a very subtle but very funny scene.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the evening, all the casting directors went up to just one person, and it was this older, balding guy.
Yeah.
Because he was the only one we all believed. And it was a small, funny scene.
Right.
But they believed him, and it was his kind of scene.
Right.
And he knew what to do.
Yeah.
So when you look for something to make an impression.
Yeah, be funny looking.
Look for something that you really can, in your heart of hearts, where you can be that person.
Yes.
Even if you're breaking a flop sweat because of a date.
Yeah.
And another thing I want to add in, which is some more good advice that ties in with all of this as far as, getting an agent or not getting an agent. And that is, agents get 10% because they only do 10% of the work. You have to do 90% of the work.
Yes.
And so that's why you need to be making things making good art and bringing your own,
Well, one thing that was really interesting to me when I was a kid, I read science fiction voraciously, and people like Theodore Sturgeon and Harlan Ellison, and all of these writers were like gods to me, and they became teachers and friends, many of them. And it was only as an adult that I learned that most of them had to work day jobs. The science fiction paid so low back in the day, in the 50s and 60s. You might earn $1,000 for a novel, $3,000 for a novel. It wasn't. Arthur C. Clarke and Ray Bradbury made good livings. Robert Heinlein, ultimately, Frank Herbert. But most of the writers whose work I loved, Clifford Simak, all these others, they had to work as teachers or insurance salesmen or whatever, and or just live lives of poverty, like Ted Sturgeon. And so they were incredibly talented. So they were creating a body of work that, in many cases, has outlived them, but they weren't getting rich off of it. So again, that's why the work is what's the most important thing. Anyway, we should probably pick up the pace.
We have
a lot of people together. So let's Tom Katzis. Well, how about you? How are you doing? Can you unmute? Let's see. Let's unmute you.
Unmute.
There we go. There you are. Yeah, we can hear you.
Hi, Tom.
2 words to say about kindness, Mark and Lane. Bah humbug.
Yes, that's funny.
Well, really exciting. I'm actually, for being so hyper, I think I'm growing up in the Midwest, being shut in with blizzards. I'm actually getting into my blizzard mindset and really keeping myself busy. And I'm so blessed.
Yes.
On St. Patrick's Day, I shot my 9th and 10th demo reel.
Wow.
For Green Reach Media, because that's how many demo reels I've done since the Millennium Job interview.
Great.
One was a drama and the other one was a comedy. But I want to talk about the voices for. Then I'm going to order my pot pie from Rick Callender's. I'm waiting. I know that Michelle's on the call too, but that scene, I was amazed at how well it was shot, and just being in the moment with Michelle. And it's going to be part of my demo reel.
Really good work, guys. Really good work.
And for those who don't know, this is a script feature by Elaine that Elaine's been directing scenes from it, including a wonderful scene with Tom Katzis and Michelle. And
they did a beautiful job.
And David Bartlett did a great job lighting it. And it's really a keeper. But great work, guys.
As far as I know, all of us are going to be creative in our own ways while we're in this lockdown or.
Yes.
Basically, look at this. I'm seeing 42 participants, and then Adam's reading people that are coming in for questions. So really, like Dave Edison said earlier, it's like we had 7 or 8 people, and then now we're doing this. So this is awesome. So I'm gonna go get some food. Thank you very, very much.
Okay. Yay, Tom. Great.
Thanks for joining in.
Thank you, Tom. So is there another question from the Mr. Sci-Fi folks?
Spacefaring Civilization from earlier asks, is there going to be more roundtables on Zoom?
We don't know yet. But this is an experiment.
But probably
it's definitely interesting.
It's an isolated time, and the table is supposed to counter that.
Yeah, we might as well do this while we're all, in lockdown, and sure, you bet. So I guess Becca, you're next. Go ahead, please.
Oh, okay. Am I on?
Yes, you are.
Okay. I've been busy posting links to you guys.
Great.
There's lots of information and lots of misinformation out there about the help that's available.
Yes.
So you have to be aware of scams. So I'm sending you all the legit information, mainly from our government. So CNN postings, like during the midst of this Zoom meeting, California has been ordered to lock in and stay in your home. So if you are in California, definitely check out that link on CNN.
Yes.
And the other links that are available are through IATSE, Actors Equity, and SAG-AFTRA regarding resources that are available, as well as the Actor Fund.
Yes.
For those of you that don't know, the Actor Fund is available for everybody in the entertainment industry, not just actors.
Yes.
So what you can do, if you go down to the chat link at the bottom where the ... is, and you click on Save Chat, it'll save all the links for you so you can refer back to them later.
Yes.
And, there's a lot of us in this position. I was actually working, I did the load-in for Come From Away, show out. And by the time we got there to tear it down,
wow.
Half of the crew was already in mask because the panic was just really great.
Wow.
They say social distancing, it's kind of hard to do that when you're tearing down set pieces and things. So
yes.
It was immediate, and this is not confirmed, but I do believe that may be one of the shows that will not be able to survive.
Yes.
And there's actually the Actors Equity president went on MSNBC a few days ago and confirmed that 16 shows were supposed to open brand new on Broadway, whatever that was, I guess a week ago, last weekend. And those shows, most of them are not able to ride this out because they were planning on making those ticket sales and making that money. And so they pretty much had to file bankruptcy overnight. So that immediately put people like us out of the job. It hit really hard. And when I talk to people that are not in our industry, they have no clue how many of us there are because they're like, oh, that only affects a couple hundred people. Yeah, not so much. Maybe in one county.
Yes.
But not necessarily in the bigger markets, but in some of the counties throughout the U.S. that might be the correct number. But for the most part, we're looking at hundreds of thousands of us. I mean, there's so many.
Well, I mean, and this speaks to why we should call the people we know, call the people we care about. Particularly if they're older people, make sure they're okay. And and now thanks to Amazon and a lot of these other places, you can have food delivered and all of this stuff. I mean, and if you have a little bit of extra cash, it doesn't, it's not a bad idea maybe to check with people and maybe send over some groceries to them, some staples, because we're all in this together, and it's we're to get through it. I think we all have to be there for each other.
If
and
you're in dire need of food, check with the county that you live in
yes.
for the food banks.
Yes.
Because they might have limitations on how they can distribute that food because of the situation.
Yes.
So especially for like LA County, I mean, I can only imagine that it's delivery only at this point.
Yeah. Yes, it is. It is.
Because
So
it's, my hope is that everybody has something to get through at least a week's work.
Yes.
And if not, let us know. We'll figure out a way, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Might have to sneak out in the middle of the night, but let's get it all.
Well, great. Well, thanks for that, Becca. So anything else you need?
Just your prayers. I may be facing some difficult decisions, but I'm having some problems with my feet. So, yeah. That's
Okay.
all.
Well, that's well. 3 cheers for you.
I'm hopeful.
Yes. Good.
Things will work itself out. We'll all be ready to go to work when this is over. That's for sure.
Yes. Exactly. Great. Well, thank you. So, other questions from Mr. Sci-Fi?
Just comments. We're good.
Okay. Good.
So we can go to
Nathan.
Let's go to
you, Nathan. We'll unmute you. I guess if we can do that. There we go. Yeah, you're live. Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Uh-huh.
Hey. Okay. Well, I am Nathan Wilds, and for those of you who are visiting us from somewhere other than Los Angeles, I am a writer, director, producer, and I work now with Space Command.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm also part-time a line producer, and that project actually is still going.
Yes.
Not just Space Command, but the other project I'm working on. Let's see. Not sure what news to say. It was interesting. I was sitting here. I was wondering what to do with my time, like you said.
Yes.
I could sit here and write.
Yes.
Which is fine, and I could get a lot done doing that. But it's, as you say, it's silent work. It's a little hard to,
Well,
now you have all this work to present to people, but it's still as silent as it was before.
Yeah.
So I was starting to think of ideas of things I might be able to do for work that don't require me to leave this room or leave this computer.
Great.
And I think I might try to flesh out an idea to do kind of a podcast interview kind of thing, Skype interview kind of thing.
Yes.
See if there's a way to broadcast that or podcast
There
that.
is. There is. There's a Michael Moore has a podcast now, and his sponsor is a company that free of charge helps people set up podcasts. And if you go to Michael Moore's podcast, he announces that and he talks about it. Apparently, this is a company that just wants more people to have podcasts, and so that's interesting because it is. I mean, again, this is a huge opportunity that didn't used to exist. I mean, the moment that Glenn Mazzara told me that I should have my own science fiction channel, where I talk about science fiction, it was like a light bulb went on, and I'm so grateful to him, and I'm so glad I have Mr. Sci-Fi, and the table, of course, also exists because I had an idea to create a community. It's like often it's just taking action, it's often just not stopping ourselves, and that's again why I feel so strongly that you should never wait for the studios and the networks to say yes, and it's always like, okay. If I took a class a while ago called the No Budget Film School, and I was very interested. It's a really good class, and I was very interested to see what his bag of tricks were. And he said, okay, because most people will write a script, it'll cost millions of dollars, and then they just go in circles forever, and nothing ever happens. His strategy was completely different. His strategy was start by saying, what assets do you have? Like if there's $500 in your bank, in your bank account, that's your budget. If your friend has a ranch house and they'll let you shoot there, that, when it's not coronavirus, that's your hero's house. If you have another friend who's got a Chrysler that'll let you use, that's the hero's car. And you put together the film from the resources you have. And you do something. And so I think, Nathan, what you're talking about in terms of what can I do sitting here, I think a real key question is what can I do sitting here that isn't isolating? And that's why, again, I think that doing the table this way is really an interesting experiment. I had no idea if it would work. I was very nervous, but clearly it's working. and you know, and it's
thanks to our friend here.
Well, yes, Adam, yay, Adam.
And another note on podcasts, because I found this out myself just recently. There's a number of websites, that will host your podcast and everything for free.
Yes.
Now there's some limits on that, like maybe like 2 hours a month that they'll give you, and they'll only put it up for 90 days each, but you know, it's there and you don't have to pay anything. Podbean, I believe, is one of them. And then I have a podcast on Buzzsprout. Buzzsprout is the other one.
That's fun.
But
it's also for anyone else, it's a good time to research, which we often sort of avoid, don't do enough of. By research, you say, what are the companies that are suitable for my films? Who are the showrunners who, in terms of being an actor, who are the showrunners who do work, who do really good work that I admire and who hire my kind of actor? You know, in other words, research your targets in terms of the producers, the buyers, and find out who is really appropriate to you and your projects, because often we're flying way too blind. And we don't take that time.
But you know, there's this thing called Google, and you can basically type in any question about anything, and you'll find tutorials. You know, and again, I mean, Dave Edison is my hero, because he when he doesn't know how to do something, he goes online, finds out how to do it, and then learns how to do it. I mean, that's amazing. And, you know, so.
And I do the same thing. I go online, I call Dave Edison, I say, I got lost, tell me how to do it. And he goes online and tells me how to do it.
Exactly. So that's. So anything else, Nathan?
I guess not. Like I said, I'm going to work on this idea. I think it might be something of interest.
Cool.
I think what I'm going to try to do is make it so that you know, when you try to offer something as an idea, you need to be able to offer as much to the person you're asking as to yourself.
Yes.
In other words, the interviewee.
Yes.
And so what I think I may do is try to, you know, start looking through people I know and that are in the industry and letting them, you know, speak to me one-on-one through a Skype type interview that gets podcasted.
Yes.
To talk about their experience, whether it's, you know, someone like Damien, who's, you know, made his career over here in the U.S. coming from the UK, and talk about experience like that.
It's great.
And then the key thing I think I want to try is that if the interviewee finds the process useful for them, have them directly connect me to a person they know who could benefit from the same experience or the same idea, such that my guests are promoting the next guest and connecting me to the next guest.
That's great. That'll work.
And I'm wondering if it might be a way to kind of slowly move up, move through the ladder or move through the industry and make more and more connections one by one that way.
Yes. I mean, again, it's like, I mean, the big thing is try stuff and see what works and do more of what works. And if something doesn't work, stop doing it. You know, it's like, it's really simple. My whole thing in my career is to simplify things. It's like, okay, what's the most direct route? And because so many people spend so much time doing things that have a little or no chance of succeeding, it's like, no. I mean, it's like, and now we have such tools at our beck and call, so yeah, absolutely. But no, I think your idea is a good one. So, well, thanks, Nathan. Thanks a lot. So another question from Mr. Sci-Fi. Anything else?
I have for Matthew McLinn.
Yes.
Is there a table still active in Dallas, and what is that information?
Yes, but I think so. But Howard would know that. So if he contacts me at markzickery@gmail.com, I can find out.
Okay.
So just email me later. Okay, so now we can go to Gino. So Gino, you're up. Let's unmute you. Let's see. Can we unmute? There you go. Great. Hi, Gino.
Hi. I guess you guys might say I'm right on time.
Yeah, really. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, being that you got to me, this might be pretty much over, but just in my usual deal of hi, Gino, actor, filmmaker, comedian.
Cool.
I'm available for table reads, even though these may not be happening anytime soon.
Well, unless it's like this,
Right. I know, right?
One could do table reads this way very easily, you know, and I'm not averse to that. I think it's, all of us should figure out ways that we can be creative in this interesting world, because the great part is we're all in the same boat. You know, it's like the president of the CW is holed up in his place too. You know, and it's like,
but it's probably a nice place.
Well, yeah. But you know, even so, you know, but go ahead, Gino. Go ahead, please.
No problem. That was really good. And actually, as you say that, I was going to come to this anyway. This is actually forcing me to deal with myself.
Yes.
Yeah, the writing primarily.
Yeah, which is great. Yeah,
absolutely.
So, is there anything you need or any questions you have?
Also, I was going to say that as far as anybody, if they're casting a project and I meet the specifications for it, I'd be honored to read for you.
Sure.
Yeah. And I need to I won't point them out. I need to email a table member.
Yes.
I didn't just to look, but the email that they send stuff out on, that's one that I could compose a new email for.
Sure.
Be accurate.
Yeah, it should be. So yeah, try that, and if it doesn't work, just reach out to me and we'll figure it out. So okay, cool. That sounds great.
Great.
Okay, great.
That is it.
Thank you, Gino. Thank you. So any more Mr. Sci-Fi?
No, we're caught up.
Wow,
okay, great.
That's great. So Mike,
are you there?
Mike, there he is.
Mike.
Yay, there's Mike.
Mike.
Yeah, sure. Hold on, we'll unmute you. Let's
Hey,
see.
Mike.
Let's see. I'm trying to unmute this. There we go. Oh, wait. No, it's hi Michael. No, it's Mike Mike Lopez for now, and then we'll do you in a second, Michael Tab. But right now it's Mike Lopez. Go ahead, Michael.
You want Mike and Jim?
Yes.
Yep. And Jim Metropole.
Hi.
Hey, Jim, you want to sit down here? Yeah. Hey, how's everybody doing?
Good.
Well, I finally got affected by the coronavirus.
Yes.
I've had to shut down all productions.
Wow.
Oh, shoot.
I did have something planned, but everybody bailed on me. They said they're sick and they don't want to get sick. And
Right.
So Hollywood stops.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
So for the foreseeable future, no more filming.
Yeah, and that's fine unless it's at home. So
even then, people don't want to come over.
No. So it's monologue time.
Well, you could do a two-person. You could do a two-person little drama with you and Jim.
Yes,
that's right.
Well, I think that's just what daily life. Yeah.
No, well, the nice thing about this though is I've had to learn how to talk to them.
Yes.
And the other thing is, I've decided, I'm going to concentrate on my writing.
Great. That's great.
I'm sure you can verify this, Mark.
Yes.
As a writer, you've got so many stories, you just can't write everything down.
No, I mean So this is a good time for writers because it enforces isolation. Which gives I like the fact that things have gotten quieter. It's rare. And but we just have to stay safe and take care of each other. And Jim, is there anything you wanted to say?
Jim, you want to say something? Hello,
Jim.
Good to see you as always. So great. Well, what I can do is I'll send you guys the first hour of Space Command because Jim's in it. He does a great job.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So I'll send that over to you guys.
I did finish a script about a transgender woman. I told Elaine about it.
Great.
I figured out what to do, and I wrote it. Got some really good feedback on it, and once I get the opportunity, I'll cast it and see what happens.
That's great. Well, thanks. Anything? Go ahead.
And then also just to let everybody know, Jim and I. Well, Jim's starting up his headshot business again.
Great.
Portraits and headshots.
Yes.
And so right now, because of the coronavirus, we're giving a virus-free cost to the headshots. So they're free right now. You can come and get a session, as many shots as you want or need.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, we'll start to charge for it. But right now, since we're starting up.
Yeah.
I bought a new camera.
Okay.
Wow, great.
Great.
And, cost $1,000, and I was looking for the hole to put the film in. There is no hole to put the film in. It's digital.
Yes, exactly.
Everything's digital. It's just a slot.
Yes, that's funny, but great.
And just one more thing, and then I'll let everybody. I'll let you go.
Sure.
If you need any help with a project in the future that needs police work or weapons, body armor, uniforms, I'm your guy. I can help you out with that too.
Great. Thank you, Mike. Thanks a lot. Yay. 3 cheers. Excellent.
Congratulations on keeping the table alive.
Thank you, Jim. Thanks very much. Great. So another question from the Mr. Sci-Fi?
Nothing new yet.
And again, this is an experiment. The table is something Elaine and I have run for 27 years, and we have thousands of members all across the country. It's really interesting to be doing it this way tonight.
And we don't want to be shut down by Cracky.
Yeah. So so let's see. I guess
a mystery person.
There's a mystery person. I guess there's the phone number guy. I don't know if you want to say anything, or whoever that is, 1310. But I don't know if you want to say anything, but we can go to Lar Park, Lincoln. So let's do. No. Hello.
Hello, Lar. Okay, let's
see. Let's see if we
unmute.
can Yeah. Wait. Here we go.
Unmuted.
There you go. There you go. Yay.
Hi. You know,
Hi.
it's actually great too, and I'm not in LA that much, so
Yes.
being able to join from Dallas, love it.
Wow.
Becca was in her place, getting to say hi.
Yeah.
I have Actors Audition Studios here. Y'all know I'm an actor, and really loving the table. I would like for little Andrew, who has to go to bed on Texas time, to introduce himself.
Sure.
So I will. What do you call it?
Yield the balance of my time.
Yes. Okay. So we'll unmute Andrew. Hi, Andrew. How are you doing?
Hello. How are you guys?
Good. So you're an actor?
Yes, I play 9 to 12. I live in Dallas, Texas.
Great.
And Laura is like the best coach ever. So shout out to Laura. And,
That's great.
I'm happy to learn any way, especially auditioning for horror, because horror movies, for some reason, they just draw my attention.
Yes.
I love horror movies.
Yes. That's great. And well, one thing I would urge you to do is start Googling horror conventions, and because there's conventions all around the country devoted to horror and horror films, and there's also a convention called Monsterpalooza. And so, you know, when it's not a time of plague, definitely going to those conventions, you can meet people, and honest to God, the directors go to them, Guillermo del Toro and Joe Dante, and on and on. I mean, it's just amazing. And there are film festivals devoted specifically to horror. And so that's definitely something for you and your folks to think about.
And if you could self-tape yourself with doing a horror scene, especially comedy horror, where you really show your acting, that could go out everywhere.
Yes, exactly. And so do you have any questions or anything you want to know?
Well, first of all, I will definitely look into those horror conventions.
Yeah.
And I also had a question. Who is it? How to draw people on. Yeah, how to, like, an audition. Make people, on auditions, I know they have thousands of tapes for, like, a feature film or something.
Yes.
Even more than that, maybe?
Yeah.
Tapes for, like,
We're getting a little feedback. Yikes. There, sorry.
How would I draw the people in, make them very interested in choosing me?
That's a great question, and I'm really glad that you have a green screen background. I think that's terrific, because you can basically, when you're auditioning, you can drop in, you know, New York City or space or anything. I think that's terrific. That's a great start. It's well, Elaine can speak to this. Go ahead, Elaine.
Well, in terms of getting attention, part of it is to really target the people who are putting together these movies and sort of research them, and then try and find anyone who might be able to help you get to them. But start out by making really good targets of what are the horror movies that you think are well made, and look to the writers and the directors and the producers of the films that you think are really great, then research them, and often you can find a way to them by going on the net and reading articles about them. So some films are extremely frustrating, and they're not at all well done. But if you have favorites, then it's surprising what you can do in terms of getting to people. Sending in really strong tapes, but create some evidence where you stand out, and then then because we're having these little pieces of get-togethers, you can say, well, I'd like to get to so and so, and I think somebody will probably know a way to them, because it's great to be part of the be part of a community. But get your target, and then people can help you if you have the evidence and the target. You're a world ahead.
And from a technical perspective, there's other things you can do, such as make sure you have proper lighting, make sure that they can see your face, all of your face, that none of it's in shadow. And I believe it's proper when you're doing a self-tape audition to have not, like if you're using your phone, to not have it upright, but to have it like hamburger style, not hot dog style.
And if you can use shadow to the degree that you jump out of it,
right?
Since it's a horror piece, yes. Okay. All right. Well, thanks.
I think we want to jump back. Yeah.
Good to meet you.
We want to jump back to Casey. I think. I don't think we got to him.
Aha. Okay.
So these shift around.
Yes, they do.
So Casey hasn't gone yet.
Oh, okay. So great. So you're very welcome.
Thank you, Andrew.
So I guess Casey, and then we'll go to you, Michael Tabb. Yeah, but so Casey, go ahead, please.
And we still have to do.
Let's see.
Michelle.
Do we did her already?
Oh, we did Michelle.
Well, sort of, but we can see.
No, we didn't.
No, we haven't.
We haven't done Michelle yet.
Unmute audio. Oh, there we go. There you. Yeah, I can hear you. Go for it. Where are you? Where are you located?
You can just skip me. I'm new.
Okay, great. That's good. So I guess we'll do Michelle and then Michael after that. So go ahead, Michelle.
Gotta unmute her.
Okay, there. Wait, I'm trying to. There we go. Oh, wait, hang on 1 second. There we go. We should be able to hear you now.
It's like opening the car door.
Yeah, really. Go for it. We can hear you.
Okay.
Wow.
Oh
my goodness.
That's great.
And that's what I'm not doing now because all the dance studios are closed.
Uh-huh.
And there's no classes.
Yes.
So the interesting thing is that I find that a number of really high-line people from various major ballet companies have posted classes online.
Huh, that's great.
So this is, now obviously there's not a whole heck of a lot you can do in your house unless you've got a bigger place than I do. But I managed yesterday to do a pretty much of a bar in my kitchen, led by somebody from New York City Ballet who had 6 people with her from New York City Ballet and Dance Theater of Harlem doing class with her as she did things. So that was really interesting.
Huh. Cool.
When the weather is nicer, I can do that in the backyard, which I've done occasionally when I miss class. But since I'm too smart to jump on concrete and too impossible to turn on concrete, there's a limit to what will get done. But I'm trying to do something besides sitting.
Yes.
I wanted to shout out to David Bartlett, who lit the scene for Voiceless Roar. He can light me anytime. I swear to God, it was like being lighted by Burrell. It was wonderful.
That's great.
I have never looked that good in my life. So that was great. It's a lovely scene. Thank you, Elaine. It's just, it's so sweetly written. It's so nice. And Tom is delightful. I mean, I had to keep my back turned to him all the way through the scene, which is awkward, but I understand what he was doing now when I was able to see the edited scene. So that was cool. And what I was going to do tomorrow, I may very well not be able to do. I have to find out if one is allowed to travel for medical reasons. I was on my way down to Tijuana to see my doctor, my dentist rather, because broken filling. And that's considered medical transportation. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, I'm sure you can find the answers. So
that's going to be interesting. And when I get off this, I'm going to have to do some serious research.
Yes.
Otherwise, I'm going to have to kind of wait on this until whatever it is happens.
Yes.
We are once again free to go places. Meanwhile, I wish the best of luck to everybody who's out of toilet paper.
Yes. Yes, thank you.
You know, I felt really good. I scored a jar of peanut butter yesterday. That was good.
Cool.
I'm expecting at some time to see news footage of Trump throwing toilet paper rolls at people.
Yeah, well, he's been doing that for. Yeah. Yeah. No, he's basically
better than what it used to be.
Anyway, yes. So yes. So anything else, Michelle?
Other than that, I'm rereading some old material. I was rereading an old novel that was something that had been on my folk shelf that was written about a World War II period.
Wow.
And there is a scene in it that is so lovely that I think I'm going to try and do a minor rewrite on it. And when we get back to shooting things, I'd like to have that as a scene to use for an audition piece. It's
Great.
Very nice.
Wow.
And it stands apart from the novel. It's a scene from a novel called Everybody Slept Here by Elliot Arnold, who I guess was pretty well known at the time. He's got a lot of book credits, if anybody else knows him. I certainly don't know him for anything except this one book.
Wow. Well, that's cool. Okay, well, great. Well, thank you, Michelle. Thank you. Yay. Anything else from Mr. Sci-Fi?
Yeah. Let's see. We've got Hayes 494 says, "Hi, Mark. Have you ever read any of military sci-fi writer Elizabeth Moon's work?"
Yes, I have. And I can't remember off the top of my head which of her novels I've read, and I've met her too, I believe. Because I go to science fiction conventions. So, I mean, the lovely thing about science fiction is that it really is a collegial atmosphere. The writers and the fans, they really hang out at these conventions. It's very friendly. Authors are nicer than editors love books. I mean, and so it's a very nice environment. So I recommend, if you've never been to a science fiction convention, I highly recommend it. So great. So let's go on to Michael Tabb. So let's see.
And Angelique says hi.
Hi, Angelique.
Hi, Angelique.
So let's see. There there you go. Hi, Michael.
Hi. How you doing?
Good. So how are you? It's good to see you.
I'm great. To me, this doesn't change anything.
Yes, exactly.
I'm a writer. I sit home all day and I develop carpal tunnel. That's what I do.
Yes,
so
yes.
This is just more of the same.
Yes.
Only toilet paper's harder to come by.
Right. Yeah, but but again, if you're alone, it doesn't matter.
When we read Fahrenheit 451, we're like, okay, we're in the rooms now where everything's on the screens. Education is done by screens. It's exactly like that. They didn't say anything about toilet paper in that book. It's an oversight.
Right. Yes, exactly. Well, yeah, but how? So yeah. So is there anything you need? Do you have any questions, Michael? For those who don't know, is a professional screenwriter. He actually makes real money, and so
imagine that.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
Getting paid for what we love.
I know, it's neat. So, do you have any questions or anything you want to check in about?
No. Just I'm writing a bunch of stuff. I wrote a couple pilots recently to get into that marketplace. I have one with Endgame and one I'm hopefully is going with Hive Mind, who does The Witcher, and we'll see if any of that materializes. You know how it is.
Yes.
You know as well as anybody.
I do.
And no, I just came by. It's great that we're able to do this. I've been running a film school out of state for a little bit.
Wow.
And actually, it just shut down, so I'm going to get to come home for a little bit. And doing this online is just really a wonderful opportunity to say hi to everybody in California I've missed for the last couple months I've been out here.
That's great. Where are you now? Where are you?
I was an interim program director for the Nashville Film Institute.
Wow.
So
that's
I'm in
amazing.
Tennessee.
Wow.
Right there. You put me near all the bourbon distilleries, and I'm home.
Yes. Now I have a question for you, actually, because I think you're extremely good at networking, because I've been in many rooms where you were networking, and I thought you did a great job of it. And so if you have any advice for those gathered here as to how you do that, and sort of like pros and any sort of do's and don'ts of how to do it well?
For me, it's always try to take notice. It's more about listening than anything.
Yes.
You know, it's when it's like I do my best schmoozing in the office, because the minute I come into their office, the first thing you take notice of the personality of the person. Do they come and get you, or do they send people to come and get you? What is their personality?
Right.
Well, then you get into their office and look around. Take note. Do they have comic books on the shelf? Do they have sports memorabilia hanging around? Find your in for conversation.
Yes.
And it's not that you're being fake, and it's not that you're being strategery, which isn't really a word.
Yes.
It's not phony. It's looking for a way to connect to people.
Great.
And just remember, all we do when we're trying to network with people is we're not just trying to get movies made, and we're not just trying to get our shows on the air. It's not that. Hopefully that's part of the process anyway. But for me, it's always about making new friends and talking to people about the stuff I love to talk about.
Yes.
Luckily, I like to talk about everything. So all I got to do is find out what they like to talk about, and I can talk about that.
That's great. That's great. Well, thanks for that. So, well, great.
If I could jump in real quick.
Yeah.
Michael, you know, for about 20 years ago when I was at Intel Corporation, I developed I call it carpool tunnel syndrome.
Yes.
And I've been using since for about 20 years Dragon Naturally Speaking. Literally, you don't have to touch your keyboard. You can just type everything by voice.
Huh.
Also, I've written my book, not the Van Halen book, but the other book, my story, by dictating into my phone when I'm driving or walking down the street in New York.
What's the name of the app you're using? Is it Dragon?
Yeah, Dragon, and then you can actually have it transcribe everything you said into your phone. When I was like lying in bed after surgery, and then it takes those chapters and transcribes them automatically into text. And I've been doing that a long time. So hit me up, and I'd be happy to show you how it works.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
That's great. That's
Absolutely.
great.
You can find me on Facebook, Twitter.
Okay.
All the
Great.
usual places.
Terrific. That's great. Well, thank you, Michael. Good to see you. And let's go to, I guess, Matthew McClin. I guess you're here. Let's see if we can unmute you. Yeah, there. Oh, wait, hang on. There you go. Are you?
There we go.
Yeah. Hi, Matthew. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. So just for the group, I met Mark and Elaine in LA when I lived there a few years ago. I did their Super Mentors class, which I will give a shout out to because it's always a good one. But I've been away from LA for a while. Went through Arkansas and back in Texas. I am working on a couple of projects right now where I'm going to try to make them locally and take them to festivals. So I'm getting back into this myself. My big issue right now is going to be how many of the hats do I wear and how many do I hand off? And I think I know what the answer is for that for myself, but that's kind of where I'm at is as I'm finishing up the script and getting ready to do the budgeting and moving on into, crewing up locally is who do I team up with?
Great. That's great.
That's kind of where I'm at this point.
Be sure to team up with people who absolutely love the stuff and they don't go for money, but they go for that they always kill themselves to get it done. So that's one way to know if somebody's doing it for the money or
avoid people who are cynics.
Yeah.
Cynics, it's a toxicity that can infect a shoot. And you have to be very careful of that. The real question in terms of what you should do and what you'd hand off on, don't give up power. Power is the most important thing to hang on to. But if in terms of writing, directing, acting, producing, all that stuff, try to delegate what you're not good at. Okay, so in other words, so for instance, like with me, I'm a writer first, and I'm an okay-ish producer, but and I'm an okay director. Elaine's a much better director than I am in terms of being an actor's director. But there's a ton of stuff I don't need to be doing. Thank God I don't need to be an actor.
One way to have a slightly larger team is you make sure that you have frequent meetings where you're all on the same page.
Yes.
If there's a sense of real communication, you have the energy of the people in the room, and you let everybody share an idea, but you don't let them steal what you're doing, but you share an idea. My philosophy has always been, if somebody's idea isn't better than mine, but is equal to mine, if it's not inferior, if it's equal to mine, I let them to have their idea because then they're invested in the project. And so that way, if you have like the enthusiasm of a team where everybody feels like they matter, you can have more people helping because it becomes our project. So you guide it. You don't let people steal it from you, but you guide it and you praise and that way you can get more help because then it's our thing, and you can really, you can have a much better piece of work if you don't get too possessive.
Yeah. So great. Anything else?
Got lots to do, so just got to get after it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Absolutely. But check with people who like check the people they've worked with before and find out how someone actually is, rather than just what they say about themselves. Always talk to people who've worked with them. So great. Well, great to have you, Matthew. Yay. So anything else from Mr. Sci-Fi?
We've got another question from Arvin Donner.
Yes.
Asks, how much did it cost to get the special effects graphics done on Space Command? Your budget, what are some good resources for affordable sci-fi special effects?
That's tricky. That's always been the tricky part. To find someone who's good and affordable is very, very difficult.
There's the saying that you can do things cheaply, well, or quickly, and you can only choose two of the three.
And often you can't even choose two.
Right.
I mean, it's funny. But I mean, the real answer. Oh, go ahead.
Well, we were about to make T-shirts in answer to that. We were about to make T-shirts saying, "Fix it in pre-production."
Well, fix it in prep.
Fix it in prep.
Yeah, exactly. Because the joke is they always say fix it in post.
And that's just, and then to be honest, it's really expensive.
Right. I mean, it's really been trial and error with our visual effects. I mean, it's cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we're getting a lot. I mean, the first hour of Space Command has 900 visual effects, and the second hour has 900 visual effect shots as well. And so that's a huge number. That's more than any science fiction show on the air. And but that's I'm a maniac, and but that said, we've got a good team now, which I'm very happy about the people we're working with, and
they're also extremely talented hobbyists if you're on the net, and extremely talented people overseas.
Yes.
So that and a lot of pre-planning as to how and when and where you're going to be using these effects is very, very helpful. Some time ago, when special effects were just new, Mark needed a flying dragon, and it was interesting because he talked to the people before he wrote the scene, and they said, this shot we can do, and this shot would be too expensive to do, and we would have never known the difference. It's just the way in which the equipment works. So it's very good to bring people in early, bring in friends, hobbyists, people from overseas.
But have them take do a shot or two. Don't give them the whole project until you see what they can do. And again, there's a ton. Well, right now is a great time to reach out to visual effects guys because they're all sitting at home, so and all the studios and networks have shut down, and so it's a great moment of opportunity. I mean, again, it's just finding people who are on your wavelength, and that's there's a ton of people all around the world now who can do what you need to do. So let's see. Why don't we go to?
We finally have Scott.
Scott
not
Baker.
That odd picture.
Let's do Scott Baker.
Hi,
because
Scott.
he's been here since the get-go. There. Hang on. There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Hey, how's it going?
Yay.
So I guess for the people who don't know me, I'm Scott Baker, writer-director of Fifth Passenger, sci-fi thriller that we shot at Space Command Studios. With the help of a lot of table members. Got Tim Russ, Marina Sirtis, Doug Jones, Armin Shimmerman.
Great.
Hana Hate, Manu Interemi, a lot of Star Trek sci-fi alum that people should know about.
Yes.
And it's available right now on Amazon Prime for free. So
cool.
Everyone's sitting at their home with nothing to do for new shows to watch. You can check it out on Amazon Prime.
Great.
So yeah, I mean, that's, just like everybody else, just sitting at home, catching up on old episodes of Unsolved Mysteries. But
I'll tell you an idea of mine that you might find useful, Scott. I once had an idea, and I haven't done it, but it's a really fun idea, which would be to subscribe to a stock footage library and make a movie entirely from stock footage.
Yeah, they had one, and it got a.
Did they?
It showed it. It showed at the Arena Cine Lounge, and it was called The Green Fog or something like that. It was really weird, and it was the kind of thing where it was just the way they put it together. It was kind of telling a story.
Yeah.
But it was the kind of thing that you could maybe have on in the background at a party, but after like 30 minutes,
no,
I walked out because I just couldn't sit through it
right.
any longer. But
you need to have a narrative. You need to have narration.
Yeah.
You basically have to build a story. Yeah.
I'm writing on a couple scripts that I have, and that's what I'm doing with my time and everything like that. Somebody had mentioned, the whole chicken and the egg catch-22 problem about money and actors and stuff like that.
Yes.
And I recently went to a talk where about film financing, and they were talking about this. And
yes.
The answer to that is if you really do have access to A-list talent, and you really do have access to money in the sense of, I know that I can approach these actors, or I know that I can approach investors that have the money, is that if you know that you can get to the actors and they say they'll work for the money,
yes,
you put together your business model that says, this is what the film is going to make and everything like that, based on these particular actors that that you have access to if you have the money.
Yes.
And then when you get the investors on board, then they can put the money into like an escrow type account.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way then that you have access to that money in the escrow account is if you actually attach the actors.
Yes.
So then you can go to the actors and you have the proof of funds
right
in this escrow account.
Yeah. And Elaine mentioned that earlier as well. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I didn't know if that was mentioned, but I think a lot of people see that, and I think it's definitely a point that you made too. Is people look at those sort of things, and it's a way to sort of be easily defeated,
right?
And they're kind of like, oh, well, I can't get the A-list actor because I don't have the money, and I don't have the money because I can get the actor, so I guess I just can't do it.
Right.
It's an easy way to kind of give up, and then like you were saying about approaching sci-fi actors and stuff like that. There's so many other ways to do it, but if you really are serious and you seriously have access to ways of getting the millions of dollars, or
yes,
ways of getting these A-list actors, that it can be done.
Yes. Well, also that said, it's most people choose a very expensive way of going about things, and my model. I'm the only writer who wrote for both Deep Space Nine and Babylon 5, and I really loved what Babylon 5 did, because they had standing sets. They rented a warehouse, converted it to a soundstage, had standing sets. All of their offices were there, visual effects, editorial, everything, all under one roof. And they were able to deliver a show with more visual effects, more stunts, more aliens than Deep Space Nine at the time, which was costing over twice as much. Now, and also, there's the Asylum is a very interesting model. There's no reason that their movies have to be shitty. In other words, if there were a good writer and they were casting good actors, their model is a very interesting one, because they've got a very solid VFX unit, and they do their films. They pre-sell their films at a budget of $300,000. They take $100,000 as their profit, and they make the film for $200,000. And it's like and they just crank it out like an assembly line. The problem, of course, is that their movies aren't good. But part is the assembly line thing. I've been on Asylum Pictures, yes,
and they'll have a production schedule of 11 days.
Yes.
And even if you have a great script and great cast and great crew, and you're not paying the crew $100 a day, which they're doing,
yes,
that's how they get away with it. All the crew hates being there because they're not getting paid anything, and they feel like they're not getting anything out of it.
Yes.
And everybody's grumbly and angry, but they're shooting for 10, 11, 12 days of feature film, and
right,
there's no time to, we're going to take some more takes, and we're going to finesse these
right,
actors, and we're going to,
yes,
obviously they have a model that's based on these B movies that are schlocky and terrible.
Yes. Yes. But yeah,
but also
it was very difficult to make something quality.
Well, go ahead. What were you going to say?
But you sometimes we can surprise ourselves when before I shoot anything, I'll tend to go to the person I think several people who might be distributors or buyers to help me, and I'll say, what would you need given my current budget, given the script? What would you need to allow me to sell it? And sometimes I don't need an A-list actor. I need like 3 B-list actors, or I need to enter into sufficient number of festivals.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you go to the buyer, you don't just think about selling. You don't just think about I'm going to make the movie. You think about how before you start shooting it, how am I going to sell this? But a lot of people need a lot of product. And if you talk to them and you say, do I need to lower my budget? Do I need to do this? Do I need to do that? Sometimes it's surprising what you can sell. And they'll tell you what they need to actually get an audience to sell it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
But,
and I think it's also, where people are at with their careers. If you're out trying to make your first feature film, like what I did with Fit Passenger was that model of like, okay, who can I get for this very limited amount of money that I have available, and squeezing every penny and making the most of it, and me showing up and building the sets and all this kind of stuff, and it's I think that's how you have to do your first film for a lot of people, but then it's also like, okay, I don't want to make another movie like I made Fifth Passenger.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to pay people $100 a day and people giving stuff for free, and and I would in a heartbeat do it again for that experience, but I don't want to do it again. I want to do things the right way. I want to have a bigger budget to do it right, and to get all these things moving to move myself up into making legitimate films. And so I think that's also for everybody assessing where they're at and what they want to do next with their careers and stuff like that. I think it's different for everybody, but
cool. Great.
I mean, this is a great time for people as writers to be self-imposed writing and things like that. So I'm taking advantage of that.
Right.
When production does get up and going again, for the people who have productions going, I am a Steadicam operator. And I have my own gear. I'm a member of 600, the camera union. I just got into that earlier this month. Yeah,
congrats.
Good for you.
But there's no jobs, but that's cool. Hopefully when everything starts back up again, it's gonna be there's gonna be all these jobs coming out because everybody's trying to pump these things back out again. But
cool.
Yeah. So
congratulations. So great.
Yeah.
Well,
Thanks.
Yay, Scott. Thank you. Terrific. Yay. So now just to let everyone know, we have to stop at 9:30. So we've got 45 minutes. So if people can be fairly succinct, that'll be great. And now Ken Bauer, Ken up there, I don't think you've had your turn, have you? You've been on the screen for a long time. Let's see if we can unmute you. Let's see. There we go. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. You're great. So
it's been a while. I actually have been a member for some time.
Great.
And then I started having to work on Thursday. So I'm a composer and a musician. I have my own conducting gig and all that. So I couldn't make it. But when I got the email from the table that we're meeting tonight, I thought, wow, that's great. I'm not working because I'm not going anywhere. So it worked out real well.
That's great.
I think that we should all just kind of remember, and this is kind of why I came tonight, is that William Shakespeare, during the Great Plague of his time, he was shut in too, and he used the time wisely, and he wrote King Lear.
Wow.
So as a composer, I've been like going crazy. I mean, I'm not out performing like I usually do as well. But man, I've written some TV stuff. I finished a Bollywood thing.
Great.
And Netflix in India, I did that, and so I'm cranking up now something for PBS. So
it's great.
It's just we're all in this together.
We are. And,
I've had over the years, I've had some really good experiences with table people who wanted
to use my music, and that was really cool. So I enjoy the table very much, and I hope that when things get all back to normal, that I will be able to squeeze over.
Great.
That'd be great.
More.
Great. Well, thanks a lot, Ken. It's good to see you. So I guess Barbara, I'm trying to go in some kind of strange order. Barbara, are you there? Barbara?
I am.
There you are.
Hi, Barbara.
Jesus fucking Christ. Yes, there you are.
Hello, everyone. Woo-hoo!
Yay.
This is fabulous, isn't it?
It's crazy.
I'm so happy to see you all, and it's so I love Zoom because it keeps us in touch, and we're able to like talk to one another.
Yes.
And I too, it's so great. I was so happy to see that you guys were meeting tonight, and I was like, well, I guess I can go. When I went, and then I thought, well, I went to the gym, which was across the room. I did yoga across the room, and okay, I'm just going to come back to the gym, and then I'll go to the table. And it was just so stupid. In any case, but I'm really heartened. Mark, you really inspire me. You and Elaine, I mean, because you guys have not stopped. I mean, people are like, there was, I think when this first started, there was a couple of days where people were like floundering, like, what am I going to do? Like, what? I'm inside, I don't have a job. And I just noticed that you were like, I'm, raising money, and we're going ahead, and we're going to do, we're going to do Space Command. This is not going to, I was like, wow, that's fantastic,
Yes.
And I too, I've been, I've had a lot of auditions, and right before, like last Friday, when everything kind of started to close down, I think it was last week.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seemed it's kind of like I don't know anymore, but I booked the national commercial, which was I was on hold for, and then they canceled it.
Yeah.
And then two independent films. I actually booked like 3 acting jobs in 1 week that were all canceled.
Yes.
So it'll probably come up again. And then I'm also and I'm going up for this amazing horror flick, and I have to go out tomorrow, and I have to I've turned my apartment into I could turn it around, but I should show you, but I'm not gonna. But it's a blue wall, so we put like a friend of mine. We turned my apartment into a self-tape studio. So because
cool.
Actors, that's all we have to do.
Yes.
These days, and they want. By the way, self-tape is amazing because they want like opening night.
Yes.
It's not like, and they want like production values now. It's not so. It's not, and you have to have. You have to have somebody act with you, because I've done it on my computer, but like crazy. And so I've got a big film that I have to self-tape for tomorrow. And so, but a friend of mine, Jane Petroff, who we did the Yale project with, which was when I started working, for everybody that doesn't know me, I worked with Mark and Elaine during Super Mentroid. I must have done I think about 3 or 4 years with you guys.
Yeah.
I've got a master's degree in Mark's degree.
Yes. So do I.
But I learned a lot, because we did. I did the Yale project. I went to Yale Drama School, and so Mark and Mark said, "What's your goal?" And I said, "Well, a TV series regular." And obviously, was been getting. Definitely have that happening. I went up for 3 TV series last week. Unbelievable, Mark. I mean, amazing,
That's great.
But he said, you want a TV series regular. Are you talking to anybody in television? And do you know anybody? And so I wrote down the people that, I knew. And then he said, with your degree, you could call Yale University and ask them if you could use their name and go to any showrunner you want in town and get an interview. And so we did. And Scotty helped us for Damon Lindelof. He was with the Damon interview. And I've got 24 of those interviews in the can in Australia now. So I've got an editor. Wow. I sent all of it to Australia. So at some point, all of those interviews that we did with Glenn Mazzara and you and Lane and several other people, 24 of them, at some point will finally get edited after 5 years.
Yeah, that's great.
You also told me that, that's definitely just about meeting people.
Yes.
So, and I did that, but the progression of like where I was when I started with you guys and where I am today is crazy different. I mean, like the trajectory is, I am a working actor in Los Angeles. And yes, some of these freaking projects are, $125 a day.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But then they're SAG projects.
Yes.
And they're little, so I'm getting a little role here and I'm getting a little role there. And I did a little role that went crazy this week. The guys, they cast me as a crazy, wacky Hollywood agent / psychic, which was a small, very funny role.
That's great.
In this short called Finding Filmin. You can find it on my my Facebook page or my Instagram. And those guys that I work with, they got into Capital Cities Film Festival.
Great.
And they weren't able to do it because it was canceled. Right?
Yes.
So they premiered it on Facebook
Yes.
and Instagram and Pinterest, I guess, this
Great.
week on St. Patrick's Day.
Yes.
So there you are. Tomorrow I'm going to go out in the middle of this coronavirus, whatever we've got going, over to Jane's self-tape place and tape something and send it off yet again to the black hole of I don't know. You send these self-tapes off and you wonder, is anybody watching them? And then you get a call from a director that says, we watched everything. And I'm like, okay, so I'm out there. And and that's that. I'm very happy to be here. I'm extraordinarily thrilled and honored to be part of Space Command. Can hardly wait to do that.
Yeah.
And
It's
I
gonna be
wish
fun.
everybody to be safe. I hope everybody is happy. I know that is kind of a weird time, but also it's kind of a introspective time. I'm definitely doing a lot of writing. So
Great.
that's me. Thank
Well,
you
that's
so
great.
much for letting me share.
Yay, Barbara.
Love you guys.
When can we see that clip with you as the psychic?
Yeah.
It's on Facebook, and I'm at Barbara Lee Bragg, BRAGG, and I'll post it again. It's a small short. I think it's 12 minutes called Finding Filmin. These guys are great. They're out of Boston and they've just hit Los Angeles, so they have a lot of energy, and they did this very funny little film.
That's great.
And I'm right at the top.
Okay.
Just a tiny little. Hi, I'm sorry.
Did you put the link in the chat?
Yeah, can I do that? I don't
Probably,
know.
but God knows. Where
There should be a chat button.
Yeah, some of us live in
below.
the 20th century, but
Share. I'm going to try because it's share.
Great.
I can share content.
Okay.
So I'll try.
Great.
Okay.
Thanks,
Let's go
Barbara.
on.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Great. So now, William Garcia, why don't we do you? And we're just working our way down this. So let's see, unmute audio. There you go. We can hear you now.
Hey, everyone. How's everyone doing?
Good.
Hopefully you guys are doing well. I've been stuck in my house here for, oh my God, this is like day number 8. So I got back from the Mammoth Film Festival.
Wow, great.
And just, self-quarantine. I have been sick with the flu, but they don't know which strain. But, everything's shut down like everyone knows. And I'm basically home waiting for this whole pandemic to pass. I had a great time at Mammoth Film Festival. We won Best Genre Comedy Film.
Cool.
So that was like a lot of fun. The movie finally is released. Tension, well, obviously that project is now on hold depending when we can start pre-production. And Mark, Elaine, thank you so much for doing this. This is like really a great idea. And that's pretty much it. Just wanted to hang out and listen to everyone. And,
Great.
for those that don't know me, I'm a producer and an executive at a production company, and we produce feature films and television series.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you, William. One thing I wanted to say, again, I would challenge all of you to think of what you can do creatively while you're in isolation. I mean, radio drama is a very, very cool thing. And one could actually use Zoom as a way of doing a radio drama. And Barbara, you and I can talk later about this, but definitely Westerns are terrific in radio drama. So that might be something to think about. We'll talk further about it offline. So let's see who here. I guess admin, it says here. I can unmute you. Let's see if I can do that. There you go. Hi, how are you?
Hi, good. I'm James Ridgely.
Great.
So I didn't change my name for all that.
That's okay. And did you have any questions, or did you want
My
to?
computer. I bought it that way.
Sure. Sure.
So about me, I started a career. My first career was a comedy juggler.
Huh.
I traveled all over the world several times over.
Great.
Bought my first house.
Wow.
And then I had written scripts I couldn't get read.
Huh.
So I went to film school, and out of that I ended up being a production sound mixer.
Great.
And that's what I've been doing professionally I have a MA certificate win for sound mixing, and helped Christopher Plummer get an Oscar for beginners.
Wow. That's great.
So that's the sound career. But I've been writing too. I have an option feature, a sold short, another feature that's going to script to Happy Madison, which I don't have any word on.
Uh-huh.
And then I'm with a producer developing hopefully three horror films.
That's great.
So they're just a concept form, and I'm just working with those right now. So hopefully I'll get even more of those out, and hope to do something,
Cool. So anything you need, or any questions you have?
Questions? No.
Okay. That's great.
That's it.
Okay.
Well, good to thanks for keeping in touch.
Good to see you. Yeah. So let's see. I guess Irina, here we go. Let's see if we can get you. Let's see. Trying to unmute that. It's not unmuting, so I don't know what we're doing wrong, but okay. So it's not. Let's see. Unmute audio. There.
Nope.
No. So we'll continue on, I guess. There's Adam Modiano. Let's see. Can we unmute you? It's doesn't seem to be unmute audio. No.
Okay.
I guess not.
So we've down to
Lydia Torres. Let's see. Unmute. Nope. Huh. That's not working.
Let's try Bonnie.
We'll try Bonnie Janowski. Yeah. There we go. Let's see. Wait. Let's see. Bonnie. It's not unmuting. That's kind of weird. That's strange. Unmute audio. It's not unmuting.
Oh.
They have muted themselves.
Yeah. Oh, they muted themselves.
If you muted yourself, you have to unmute yourself.
Okay. Okay. So
Lydia's on.
Well, okay. So
Am I unmuted?
Yes. Yes, you are, Bonnie. So why don't you?
Okay.
We'll take your turn.
Then we'll go back to Lydia.
Yes. Okay. Great.
So I'm a composer, and right now I'm in pre-production on a film musical, and I've worked with this filmmaker before, so there's tons of dance, and he's an amazing tap dancer. So we're in pre-production, and then somebody from the table, they're hoping to raise funding.
I don't know how much this is going to have.
Okay, I'm sorry, Bonnie. Just keep going.
And there's Sarah.
Somebody from the table trying to get funding to resume work on that. And the other day, my agent said that one of the people on your list of previous people you've worked with is doing a film. So I'm gonna contact them.
Great.
So yeah, just different things. Longtime member of the table, and yeah.
Great.
Kind of musical need. Here.
Okay, great, Bonnie. Great to see you. So Lydia, yeah, go ahead, please.
Hi. Well, I've been working on my Centaur series for quite a while now. I did produce. Remember, I went to the meeting over one of the restaurants over in Sherman Oaks area, and basically now I'm writing my 4th episode. And so I was wondering if anybody has any resources to any type of costume department that can do just a regular body in the with half human and then making the centaur outfit.
So you mean you want a centaur costume? Is that basically what you're looking for?
Yes.
Wow. That's an interesting question. I mean, the challenge now, of course, is that pretty much shooting is shut down on everything.
I know.
I know. So you'll probably have to wait until things, open up again. But but that said, that's a question you could put out at the table. Somebody's probably got a centaur one way or another. There's now a lot of that stuff being done optically now with visual effects. But
that could be done.
Yeah. that might be more convincing, you know. But yeah, putting out an email at the table, you'd find out. I'm sure you'd get an answer.
We have a lot of costumers.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Great.
All right.
Okay.
Thank
Cool.
you.
Great seeing you. Thanks. Anything else from Mr. Sci-Fi?
We have Illage Vidiot asks, does anyone else find similarities between The Breakfast Club and 5 Characters in Search of an Exit?
I haven't seen The Breakfast Club, so I can't comment on that. But I think one can see, you know, pretty much make connections between anything and anything. Gone with the Wind and you know, Ferris Bueller's Day Off or whatever. So, but let's do Tom Loveman. Hello, Tom. Let me unmute you. There you go. Hi. Yes. Hi.
Hey guys.
Hi.
Good to see.
Good to see you.
I figure I had no excuse not to be here tonight.
Yes. That's funny.
Yeah, this is fantastic. In fact, I just got off another Zoom call with my writing group co-leader and my podcast, Writers Group Therapy podcast co-host, Roshni Lamino.
Cool.
Because we're setting up other calls to do our writers group through Zoom.
Great.
And we're going to be doing our podcast live on Zoom
Great.
starting next week.
Wow.
And we're going to be doing Twitch. I've been doing some Twitch gaming lately.
Great.
To try
Cool.
to, I'm actually have a video game I developed coming out in about hopefully 3 to 4 weeks.
Mhm.
A mobile board game. So I've been
Cool.
doing that. So I'm pretty excited. I'll share that all with you.
That's
Probably
great.
have a soft launch next week. So I might put it out for testing if anybody's interested.
Cool.
As far as my writing goes, I'm a writer. I haven't done as much writing this last year or so.
Mhm.
I wrote a short comedy sketch that's basically a modern version of Who's On First.
Huh.
It's about time to update that. So it's called Who's Online.
Uh-huh.
You can imagine where it goes from there.
That's funny.
But I'm hoping to produce that. It should be pretty easy to produce relatively simply. I just have to get around to getting out of my apartment now.
Yes.
So there's that. And I'm using this time we have hopefully for the next month to really put myself to work getting back on some of the scripts I started a long time ago that never finished. So if anyone's looking for help, I do editing, I do marketing, graphics, video. I've done some visual effects, compositing. I do some rotoscoping. If you got logos in the background that need blurring, I'm really good at that.
Cool.
And that's about it.
Okay.
Well, it sounds like you would use an accountability partner to actually get those scripts done, right?
Yeah, that's what we're doing. Yeah, we're gonna. There's I think 3 of us are gonna be meeting weekly
Right.
to push ourselves to get that stuff going. One's a comedy, and I'm so afraid of doing comedy.
Yes.
I've got a first draft done of this feature-length comedy
Huh.
that is not funny at all.
Okay. Okay.
But the story is there. The story is there. Now I just have to turn it into a comedy. It's a
Yes.
drama right now.
Wow, that's interesting. Well, that's an interesting challenge. But yeah, absolutely. But reaching out to people, you'll find the right person to guide you. Yeah.
But it's always about how crazy we are inside. Somebody told me to watch a scene where 2 people were fighting that theoretically was supposed to be funny, but it wasn't funny at all. And I said, well, yeah, that's because they actually, neither of them realizes that they're in the wrong.
Right, exactly.
That's fun.
And so when they both had to realize that they're wrong and really fight for this point of view, knowing they were in the wrong,
That
suddenly
made
it was
very
funny. Yeah,
that's great. That's great. Well, cool. Okay, well, great. Well, it's good to see you, Tom. Yeah.
See you.
Now, Adam Modiano, have you? I see that you're now unmuted. Is that right?
Yes. Am I audible?
Yes, you are. So, if you want to introduce yourself and if you have any questions, or go ahead, please.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be brief. I don't have too much new news. I'm Adam. I'm an animation writer. I got here. It is my 6-week anniversary here.
Great.
Since the last table meeting, I've accepted a day job, and I'm reasonably confident in its ability to keep me afloat.
Good.
How I will manage starting that job from home is up in the air, but at least there is a job waiting for me at some point.
Good.
So that's a good thing.
Great.
I'm still trying to nail down an apartment.
Yes.
I saw a couple apartments today, which is good because I feel like we're just going to not be allowed to go out and do things.
Yes.
Soon.
It's true.
I tried to sign up for the life email and haven't figured that out yet.
Yeah. If you follow up with me, I can connect you up with Howard or with Tom Katzis, and they can click.
I just kind of caught Howard like on the way out.
Yeah.
Like he was trying to give me the address from memory, so I don't think I got him at a good time.
Yeah. So yeah, but if you want to reach out to me or Howard or whatever, I mean, we can make that. We can fix that. You bet.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Because I mean, it'd be great to have that regardless. Just to keep in touch. But yeah, just incremental progress. I have a day job lined up and potentially an apartment lined up.
Great.
And it's going to be like a slow, awkward stumble into both of those because of the virus stuff. But some people have it worse. So trying to keep things in perspective.
Cool. Well, that's a good idea. But great. Good work. So great. Anything else for now?
No, I think that's it. Just trying to plug ahead with the very few things that I have on my plate.
Great.
Just trying to make them come to fruition, and that's pretty much it. My goals are, like, in the grand scheme of things, are incredibly humble. I just want some stability.
Yes.
In the coming weeks, and hopefully I'll find it.
Well, here's the thing I would say. Remember that many people who normally would be extremely busy are stuck at home. So they might be more open to responding to emails or contacting them through Twitter or through Facebook or through LinkedIn. I think, for instance, Howard, like Elaine and I are teaming up with Howard Benjamin to pitch a couple of series to the president of the CW. Well, we worked up that show yesterday, ran it by Howard. He really liked what we'd come up with, our take on it. He's reaching out to the president of the CW, whom he knows. I mean, it's like assuming that there's no opportunity just because everyone's in their apartment is a mistake. Yeah, okay. I think there could be greater opportunity now. And I think there's a moment to be seized because, again, everyone is in the same boat in this challenge. And so if they're, there's no harm in reaching out to people, trying to reach out to the people you've been trying to reach out to, and seeing what happens. I think it's fascinating. And so I would urge you to do that. So
I got the email address of another animation writer who was very nice and agreed to meet me for coffee this week back when that was an option.
Yes.
But maybe he might have even more time if we talk over Skype.
Yes.
If he's working from home.
Well, here's what I would suggest. Why don't we keep that coffee date, but we'll be on Skype and each of us will be drinking coffee at our various apartments. And so in other words, you treat it just like if you met at a Starbucks or whatever, except but the gag would be that you would each have coffee. You would each be drinking
now it's
coffee.
A Keurig meeting
instead
of a Starbucks meeting.
But yeah, it'd be fun. And so I would try that. So, but great.
Yeah. I honestly hadn't thought of reaching out until everything blew over. But that sounds like a really good idea.
I think that's a great idea. So cool. Okay. Well, great, Adam. Good hearing from you. So, okay. Take care.
All right. We do have a good question.
Yes. What's the question?
From Sean Allen.
Okay.
He writes, what skills and resources do you think a creative consultant should have?
Jesus. Wisdom, I think, would be useful. I mean, well, a creative consultant, what does that mean? I mean, what is a creative consultant? I mean, it's like, what skills and resources? I mean, it depends on what you're consulting on. I would say having had a career in whatever you're consulting on would be an extremely good idea, because otherwise, how do you know what you're talking about? I mean, it's like the whole idea is that people hire creative consultants to advise them, and you have to know what you're talking about in terms of the advice you give them. So I would think, I would look at who the creative consultants are and what their backgrounds are, and maybe even do a podcast where you interview them and find out how they succeed. Because again, there are many people. Hollywood has enormous numbers of people who are supposedly the advisors, and they give all this advice, and it costs a lot of money to hire them, and they don't know what they're talking about usually. I mean, if someone's a script guru, find out if they've ever sold a script, or I mean, how do they know this stuff? And again, be very wary of people who don't know what they're talking about, because there's a surfeit of that. And but that's what I would suggest. So let's go to you, Jeannie. Jeannie, here we go. I know you. Let me unmute you. Oh, I guess you have to unmute yourself. Can you unmute on your end? Because we can't. Now we can hear you. Go for it. Yeah.
Oh, it's so great to be home and be at this meeting finally. I haven't seen you guys for ages.
Yes.
So Let's see. I'm in rehearsal actually for the Fringe Festival.
Huh.
Oh, wow.
And this week we're aiming to stay home just because of what's now, especially since it's mandatory. So we'll just see what happens.
Yes.
But it's exciting to at least be working on something.
Yes.
And I look forward to working on another project with you. That was so fun being on your show.
Cool.
As an extra. Of course, it's nice to go in there and do more.
Yes.
Whatever you have coming up. Yeah, I'm doing my homework. I'm doing another class right now, trying to have better representation. My agent is not getting me out for anything TV, film-wise, unless I submit myself. So I'm doing a course with Wendy Braum, and it's all business related. It's cleaning things out, cleaning your home out, cleaning your negatives out, everything.
Yes.
So if anyone has any suggestions on referrals, we're supposed to take, or any contacts we have and write down a list of who we are connected with just to get, more work.
Yes. Yes. And again, since no one can be shooting right now, or, I mean, it's a great time to just reach out to people and catch up and network, and Zoom and Skype and all these things allow us to do that. People are going to be feeling isolated. So just reaching out and talking to people and getting in conversation is a really good idea.
And again, getting research in specific, and because if you have a laundry list of to say, well, here's the 5 people, the 5 shows I think I would really be good for. Here are the several producers or showrunners that I'd really like to get to. So the more specific you are, the more people can help you.
Yes.
Right. Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
You're so right. So because everything's down, I can try and even send an email or whatever and say, can you chat with me or what?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, great.
Yeah.
Terrific. Okay. You bet.
Okay,
you bet.
sure.
So let's go to Sarah.
Hi, Sarah. You're back.
So let's see. Can you unmute your mic, Sarah? I think you have to unmute it. Is that unmuted? Not yet. No, we can't get it to unmute. That's weird. Geez.
Do you have an unmute thing on your side?
Yeah, we can't. Maybe we can't unmute it on our side, and you can't unmute it on yours. Oh well, sorry about that. Technology defeats us. So
well, Sarah, why don't you call? We have you on screen. Can she call us?
Well, that might work. Oh no, she's saying no. Don't worry.
Okay. All right.
No. That's okay. Well, next time we'll figure it out. So let's do Jerry if we can. Let's see. Jerry, unmute audio. Let's see. Can we? I don't know. Jerry. I guess we can't. You can't unmute it on your end. It's another technological snafu. Is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question? Oh. Hello. Who's? Yes, Jerry. Yeah, go for it. Introduce yourself.
Okay, so I'm DeMonte Tobin. I work with Safe Place for Youth.
Mm-hmm.
It's a youth homeless organization, and we do skits and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I actually been writing my own plays and everything. I actually just got done working on one just recently. I'm 24.
Great.
From California.
Great.
Yeah.
So do you have a question or anything you need?
I just want to know, like, how could I really, like, get my acting, like, start acting more and producing more? Like, how could I really get out there more, pretty much?
Yeah. Do you have advice on that one, Elaine?
Well, part of it is to be around actors who are getting work.
Yes.
Which is, once the Great Plague is over, is to, if you're part of the table, to ask who are the really good acting coaches.
Yes.
Because the really good acting coaches, you'll get into the flow of other actors who are getting work regularly. But again, as I keep advising, is if you say, who are the people in the film or TV where you really like their work? And if you say,
I like Tyler Perry, Martin Lawrence, let me see, Taraji P. Henson, Viola Davis, Denzel Washington.
Sure.
Actors like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And do you have good tape on yourself which show your best work?
I do. I would have to get it, but due to the coronavirus, I probably couldn't get it right now.
Now's not the time. But
But
I mean, the thing is, it's a mixture of things. I mean, it's basically once the coronavirus thing dies down, and is over, then go to events where people are speaking whose work you love, and that's a starting point.
You have targets, which is great. So start to research them.
Yes.
Know where they're going to be, where they're going to be talking, where there might be several degrees of separation.
Yeah.
But then get some. You ain't got nothing if you ain't got the evidence.
Yes.
And so the more you can look up whatever you have. Whatever you want to shoot, but shoot something that really shows
what you can do.
Again, it doesn't have to be big, but something where you feel you can really put your heart into it. And if you shoot a couple of things where you really put your heart into it, because that's what we always look for when we're looking at tapes. Do we believe the person completely or not? And are they interesting in that they've really thought it through in terms of there being layers?
Yes.
So if you're
because I'm really good at improving,
Good. That's good.
I could, rehearse skits or whatever, plays or whatever, but I like improving more than anything. That's my thing. That's my comfortability.
And is that in drama or comedy or both?
Both, actually.
Yeah. Okay. Well, again, there's a good market for comedy improv. Drama improv is harder. You'd have to find directors who like working in that style, and but also it's useful to show that you can also do scripted scenes well as equally, because there's going to be a lot more work that's scripted stuff, where they often what a good director will do is he'll say, okay, let's do a scene as scripted. Then once they have a safe version of that, they'll say, okay, now let's riff on it. And and so being able to do both is very, very handy.
It's good if you can become comfortable with lines and have that feel get to be as natural to you as doing improv.
Yes.
So you've got that natural feeling, the flow. But if you take a line until it becomes really yours, then you can really join into both worlds, and you have the maximum flexibility.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. So great. Anything else for now?
What do you think would be a good idea of places where I can go and audition for different plays and different stuff like that?
That's I don't know the answer to that. I think now I don't know if anyone else has advice on that one. Adam, do you have any advice? That's
right now.
Jeannie, did you have advice on that? I'll hear. Go ahead, Jeannie. You have some advice on that, or?
Are you on Actors Access and LA Casting?
No, actually, I'm not.
Okay,
that's a good place to start.
You need to go there so you can submit yourself, and then you'll get involved.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good starting place.
That's a starting place, and the thing is, it is a problem in terms of audition, because right now everybody wants self-tape. So.
And right now, Actors Access is doing free self-tapes.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's good. That's good.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. My friend Gary actually told me about it, but my name is DeMonte Toby.
Okay, great.
So this is his phone. So he had been telling me to come check you guys out and stuff like that. So
that's great.
I can't wait for this coronavirus stuff to be done.
Yes.
To get the opportunity to meet everyone.
Yes, that'll be great. Well, thanks a lot. Good to talk to you. So anything else with Mr. Sci-Fi?
Nothing, but I could go.
Sure, yeah. And then we'll go do the rest of the people who are here.
Okay.
Hi everyone.
Yes.
My name's Adam Sartain. I've introduced myself before. I've got a couple of my own projects in the works right now, and one of which is my YouTube series, which you can follow me. Those on YouTube, I've noticed a couple of you guys are already following me. I have a YouTube series called Adam Plays the Tuba, and I've got a new episode coming out tomorrow. I haven't fully decided what I'm going to be playing yet, but I just did an episode last week with. I played the theme song from the Golden Girls. Thank You for Being a Friend. Big story behind that, but I explain it in the video. And then I've also got, as I mentioned earlier, a podcast that is, you can hear it anywhere. You can hear podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and a few others. It's called The Geeky Gospel. I'm the co-host, and we talk about not necessarily just sci-fi shows, but also like just about any sort of geeky type things, and we put a Christian spin on it, like basically how a Christian would react. The first 2 episodes are out, and our 3rd episode's going out tomorrow.
Cool.
And so far, we have 4 episodes on The Boys. That's on Amazon. So the first 2 episodes are out, and 1 episode, 3rd one's coming out tomorrow.
Cool.
So I have the podcast, I have the Adam Plays the Tuba, and also on my channel, and possibly, I don't know if I'm going to do this TikTok or Facebook or wherever, but I'm a voice actor, and I can do 70 different voices. I have a list of 70 different voices, accents, impressions. So during this time, I think I'm going to try and daily do like 2 or 3 voices every day, until we get through this.
Cool.
I'll just go through my list.
Great.
So
that sounds great. Well, thank you, Adam.
Yeah.
Thanks. So let's see, who haven't we done? There's let me look at this.
AJ?
No, we haven't done AJ, so we can. There's let's do you, AJ.
Yeah.
Go for it. Let's see. Can we
If
unmute?
he's still there.
Can you unmute? He may not be there anymore.
I don't think he's there.
No, he's gone.
He had another thing to do.
Yeah. So let's see. Steve. Here's Steve. Let's try Steve. Steve, are you there?
Yeah.
Steve? Steve? No? Yes? No?
Okay, we've lost
Okay. Nanook, are you there? Nope.
Let's try Sarah one more time.
No, I did. I have been. It's not working with Sarah.
Okay.
Sorry about that, Sarah. I keep trying to unmute you. Yeah, I'm sure you have a wonderful voice. So now Myron is not unmuting. Cassandra, no, that's not unmuting. Matt.
I am unmuting.
Oh, there you are. Great. Hi, Cassandra. So go ahead. How are you doing?
If I can get a video too, I'll see if it'll work. We're
We'll
gonna
see.
give it a shot anyway.
Yes.
Hey.
There you are. We
you're
see you.
almost there.
Yes, there you are. Great.
That's good. Okay, actually, it's easier if I do it with one side. And hey, everybody.
Yes.
So glad to be with you in digital.
Yes.
Basically, and I really appreciate you guys with the focus on solutions and the focus on thinking forward and what can we do. 'Cause it's
Yes.
all about shopping. So yes, my name is Cassandra Vincent. I am a singer and a songwriter and an actor and a writer and blah blah blah.
That's great.
And for those of us who perform live, it's been an interesting everything stopped. And I had an idea of okay, we've got all of these digital tools, what could we do? And when I was sitting there trying to curate a live group of artists, there were a couple of groups that started where one by someone who's in the music industry, and they're doing it under Isolate Live.
Yes.
On Facebook, and then they have a Twitter. And because the person works in the music industry, they were able to, they did their very first one today. They curated 4 acts, and then they were able to perform for a group of 400 to 500 people online.
Wow.
The performer put up their PayPal me.
That's
wow.
That's great.
The artist afloat, and I thought, maybe this will give us an opening to different ways of thinking about performance.
Yes.
Thinking about how to connect.
Yes.
And so excited about that. Hope to be on one of the upcoming lineups and live on Instagram too, and things like that with the band.
That's cool.
Like Shadows.
Yes.
So if you love independent music, I urge you to look up Isolate Live and join in on listening to one of their concerts. And if you like electronic music, I welcome you to listen to Light Shadows. You can see all of us at lightshadows.com. And I have 2 questions.
Yes.
One, I'm also with the gentleman before who said he wasn't getting on the live
Yes.
for the table. That never worked for me either.
Just email me markzickery@gmail.com, and I'll hook you up with Tom and Howard, and they'll figure it out. And
Mark with a C.
Mark with a C, markzickery@gmail.com. And the other thing is,
that's our editor. He's good at that.
Also, I would urge all of you to check out something called Playing for Change, because they record artists all around the world and then mix them together so they're all playing on a song together. It's really phenomenal, and And certainly something like that could be done now with everyone isolated the way they are. But so you see,
even for acting scenes.
And so, Cassandra, you said you had 2 questions.
Yeah, and so that was one.
Yes.
The other, I do voiceover, and I do have an agent.
Cool.
But it has definitely been feeling like what you had said before about slow drips on the mountain, or
yes,
trying to open a nut kind of thing. And I appreciate the people who have podcasts, because that was one other thought of mine. I've always wanted to do it.
Yes.
Seems not to. And extension of the blog I already have.
Yes.
But if it has any other, or you, Mark,
sure,
have any ideas of how you can get yourself out there further, because people work with who they connect with.
Yes.
And rise above the noise, because there's so many people out there.
There are.
It's not just your skill, it's about connecting in a human way.
Yes.
Of course. And then so you can actually be seen and heard.
Yes. I mean, the thing is, start with your enthusiasms, because, like, for instance, when I wrote The Twilight Zone Companion, I was very enthusiastic about that show and very enthusiastic about learning how to do that kind of writing. And so my enthusiasm, people found very engaging, because I was only like, 21, 22, 23 when I was working on that book. And so I started with enthusiasm, and then I reached out to people whose work I loved. And they said, if you come from authenticity and enthusiasm, people recognize that you're on the level, that you mean it. Also, if you can come up with a catchy name, that's really helpful too. A catchy name for something, because if people are intrigued in the name, on the name of something, like when I came up with Mr. Sci-Fi, it was just kind of like, I wanted something. If I just had the Mark Zickery podcast, I don't think it would have been as noticeable. So the other thing is, think about, often at the table, I say to people, what's your big dream? And people will say whatever they say. And my whole thing is, don't wait. Often people are thinking, well, that's in 10 years or in 20 years, if ever. And I say, well, what can you do to just be that thing now? It's like some people say, well, I want to be a director. Well, be a director now. Jump right to your big dream and just do that. It's, Guillermo del Toro, was really useful to do a book with him, because, his first feature was unlike anyone else's feature. He made something that was from his heart, and he made sure that it was different. And he wasn't just ripping off other people's movies or ripping off, something someone else had done better. And because it was uniquely his, it stood out, and it got the attention it needed, and it led to the career he has now. But everything he is now, you can see the seeds of that in his first feature. He hasn't changed in terms of his aesthetic. And so again, it's like, what can I always ask myself, what can I create that's uniquely me? And sometimes I succeed and sometimes I don't, but at least the intent is there. And, so again, but even now at this stage of my life, people can tell I'm really passionate and really enthusiastic. And although in my internal landscape, I might be negative or drippy sometimes, I try to project enthusiasm. I try to project a positive outlook. And that's the stand that I have in the world, because there's no point. If you're negative and if you're fatalistic, it's like, what's the point? It's very easy to fail. It's very hard to succeed, so it's like, embrace action, embrace, positive artistic energy.
But also there are people at the table where there's sure a lot of tricks to going viral.
Yes.
Keywords, that kind of thing. So you might put something out at the table and say, what are some of the tricks to going viral?
Yes. And so I guess we just have Nicholas Repetto, maybe one other person. So thanks, Cassandra. It's great to see you. Bye. So, and here's Nicholas. Let's unmute you. Let's see can you unmute your mic, Nicholas? Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Hi. How are you doing?
Good. I'm a composer, Nicholas Repetto. We got this self-isolation thing down to an art, because we never leave our studio.
Yes.
Just a few things. I had a premiere at Carnegie Hall.
Wow.
In like 3 days, but it's been canceled, obviously.
Yeah. Oh, no. Well, yes.
So if you can imagine that, it would have been a great trip.
Yeah.
But I'm lucky because I luckily I got work on 3 feature films and like 2 short films that happen to be in post now during this like horrific time that we're facing.
Yes.
So I'll be stuck here working. So it's
yeah.
I'm also very thankful for that.
Well, the Carnegie Hall thing. The Carnegie Hall thing, was that with a full orchestra? What were you going to be performing?
It was a string orchestra, basically.
Yeah. Okay.
And yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're going to reschedule it, but that's for now. It's
I would do it from your apartment. I would if you were going to do something in 3 days, I would think, okay, if I was going to do my Carnegie Hall concert here in my apartment with best efforts, and you would print out a photo of Carnegie Hall, and you would have it in view, and you would say, this is thank you Carnegie Hall for having me, and I would just have it be an event and then just put out the word to everyone that you're going to do your Carnegie Hall event. And I mean, because why the fuck not? And exactly. It's like
we have nothing else to do.
Yeah, but I think it's very funny and very promotable, and it might go viral, and what the hell,
Yeah, I mean, I might just take out my fiddle and just play something.
Yeah, I would absolutely do it. And then what you could do is you
can say this is as good as you're going to get in the play.
What I would do, what I would do is, because Amazon delivers overnight, I would go onto Amazon and see if they have an applause machine, like a little box that you can hit and it applauds you, and I would get that. And then for your Carnegie thing, you would say, I don't have the audience here, so I bought this thing from Amazon and it applauds me. And then at the end of each number, you would hit that and it would applaud.
And if you have the tech savvy, you might be able to adjust do reverb on your audio.
Yeah. But again, I think it'd be hilarious and wonderful, and I think people would embrace it. So I would urge you to do that. So any other questions? Anything else you need?
No, I'm just here to say hi. I haven't been to the table in a while, so I just wanted to say hello.
Great.
Well, one last thing before I forget.
You bet.
We have a law in California now called AB5. I don't know if you guys have heard of it.
Yeah.
Which is pretty terrible for all of us who are trying to be freelancers.
Yes.
But there's a Facebook group that we would love for you to join called Freelancers Against AB5.
Great.
So if you're not a member, just join and we can defeat it hopefully together.
Great. Thanks a lot. Good to see you. So let's see. There's Tamir Yarden. Can we? I guess we can't unmute that. I guess. Well, I think
we are out of time.
We're out of time.
Yeah.
We're out of time. This is Tamir.
Oh, hi, Tamir. Yeah. So would you just take a minute to introduce yourself and ask?
Hey guys, haven't been in a while.
Hi.
Miss you guys. Just timing and location wise.
Yeah.
Quick things. And I want to speak to Dante. If he's still around. Yes. Actors Access, LA Casting.
Yes.
And produce your own work.
Yes.
I'm an actor who turned producer, who not turned, but that's also producing, in order to keep working and do the things that I want to do. So I just produced a web series with Enrico Colatoni, and we had our first premiere at the Pan-African Film Festival this past month.
Mm-hmm.
We did really well, and just creating work that you enjoy, that you do yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So getting out there it's not just about getting out there by agents, but also creating the work so you can. So when I go to auditions, I feel so much more confident, because if I don't get the job, I know I have a job waiting for me in my own studio, basically.
Yes.
So when you have that sense of confidence, you walk into audition, and I've been booking more since I've been producing more. So
sure.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great advice. Well, thanks. So terrific.
For me, it was very important when I was auditioning for theater, and that was in the way back when you could go to just open auditions 3 to 5 a day in New York. I never went in hoping to book the role. I went in to honor the character. I'd step into this.
Yes.
I'd step into this audition bubble, and I would just do everything I could to honor the character. I wouldn't be thinking about getting the role, and I'd just be thinking about the next. I'd be going on to the next thing, and I got so much attention.
Yes.
And so much praise because I was in the moment.
I had a really quick question.
Sure.
So in the web series, there's a lyrics that we're using from a song
and it's not, there's no background music. We're just saying a couple of, well, it's a sentence.
Yes.
Do you still need permission to say those words?
Probably.
It's a sentence.
Yeah. I mean, I probably you would, yeah, but you know, I mean, again, Howard Benjamin, who's a member of the table, knows everything about that, and you know, yeah. So then, and I
Howard
think
Benjamin.
Yeah, Howard knows all about that, about music rights, and
words are copywritten too, not just music.
Yeah, the words are copywritten.
Even if it's a web series that's going to be played on YouTube, you still need.
I mean, the trick of it is, look, if you're not selling it, if you're just doing it and putting it up on YouTube, if someone comes after you, then they take it down or come up with a plan.
Just as a permission, basically.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff I do on Mr. Sci-Fi that no one comes after me because, like, for instance, I've taken episodes I've written for network television. I've put the entire episode on Mr. Sci-Fi, and no one has bothered me, and no one has come after me, and you know, it's like. Because it's, you know, it's a show that I did 20, 30 years ago or whatever. You know, I wouldn't post like my Star Trek episodes, you know, because Paramount would definitely shut me down. But you know, so yeah, but you could try it and see what happens, and you know, they're not going to sue you because there's no money to be had. But you know, just you know, be aware.
Be aware. Okay,
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. Well, so I think we've come to the end of our evening.
Yeah.
It's past 9:30. So if you're sitting in a white chair, take it outside. That's what we always say at Marie Callender's, and you know, and then pay for your food and tip well. You know, but thanks, guys. I think this experiment has worked. So probably we'll do it again next week, I think. And to the Mr. Sci-Fi viewers, I hope you've enjoyed it. And we'll all see each other again real soon. Take care, guys. Thanks very much.
Good night.
Good night. Good night, guys. Thanks. Yay. There.